Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us on this Sunday special with the Infinity Equation, Collecting Our Future. It's a feature that was brought up a while ago from the gentleman you see sitting in the bottom right hand corner of the Hollywood Square signs, Mr. Brandon. We thought it'd be awesome to definitely get together and talk about this. We don't talk about collecting enough. I think in the community, we always talk about what's the next best thing, what's the next pre-order I got to get. Ooh, look what I got! Look what just came in! Look what's shipping! So definitely, it's something that we need to kind of talk about and see how everything, like how it goes for some of us as collectors, uh, because I think most of us are, man, we're all in that same kind of rut a little bit, depending on how big our house is. If we got a mansion, it's a we don't have that problem. But I'd like to welcome our panel here, Mr. Alex Sanchez, as you all currently know, Mr. Iron as Ironhead.
That's me. Yeah. How's everyone doing? Hope everyone's enjoying their weekend. Yeah, this is pretty. I think the germ of the idea was like somehow like Brandon had started talking about it on Dan's show, and when he came on, we kind of brainstormed a little bit, and it just seems like it's like whenever we talk about like, whenever we go on each other's shows and we talk about these toys, like there was always like a handful of questions that always kept coming up, and the most important ones were the ones that deal with us as collectors and moving forward on with our lives. So yeah, I'm really happy to be a part of this and talking to you guys about these serious issues.
Yes, right. And the newest member to the Infinity Equation podcast, Mr. Disavowed Tim. Welcome, sir.
Hey, thanks, guys. Glad to be here, cutting up everybody, and the opportunity to just find something and unboxing it. So a lot of concepts, a lot of different things. Our conversation today, maybe we can help out some people that are new to the collecting game. That haven't run into problems like space switching from plastic bubbles to cardboard, and why we're so upset about it. So I for current collectors and also some new collectors that are out there. So very excited to be hanging out with you guys.
Thank you, sir. And then the one that we all know, the one and only, the UK getter. Don't stop getting them new toys before US now. Mr. Brandon, Hero Collections. Welcome, sir. Welcome.
Yo, what's up, guys? Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here. I'm so happy that we finally are getting to have this chat. I mean, it feels like it was only yesterday that we said, oh, what would be a good idea? And then to think that we're actually here now is a crazy thing this many months later. So I'm really happy that we're finally here. And I'm really excited to see what we come up with. Thank you again for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. And welcome everybody who's watching. I appreciate you all in tuning in on a Sunday afternoon. Those around the world, if it's nighttime, appreciate you tuning in. And if it's morning time for you, appreciate you tuning in the morning with your cup of coffee. I wish I had a cup of coffee right now. That'd be great. Dan will be joining us at the Legends of Liquor. So we will get his thoughts and his pals later this evening. But we'll just go ahead and jump into it. So the first question we have here, the financial effects of collecting. What do you feel like is how is collecting? I should try to think of the best way to phrase this. How do you feel like financially when you're collecting something, depending on what it is, how much it is? Now that the prices have gone up on figures, do you feel it's the financial part is affecting you a little bit more? Where you have to look at how you spend your money. So we'll start with you, Brandon.
Sure. I think I think this is probably the most important part of collecting, because I think in a world where costs are rising, both here in the UK, there in the US, and around the world, I think we all kind of have to be sensible about what do we spend, how do we spend it, when is too much, what is too little, what is just about right in the middle there, and I think the bottom line is that so long as everything else is accounted for, your bills are paid, there's food on the table, there's a roof overhead, once the necessities are dealt with, and I think you're in a place that you're comfortable with whatever disposable income it is that you have left over, that's when the real fun begins. That's when you can actually say, okay, what are my limits? What is it that I'd like to get out of this hobby? Because I think for so many of us, we approach it in different ways, right? Some of us, it's like, oh, welcome to the collection, on the shelf you go, kind of thing, and then the figures just stay there. But then for some of us, like I've spent my afternoon posing figures, shooting figures, getting this month's content up and ready for the next week on Instagram, which is enjoyable and fun, but also hard work, So I think the finance point of it is it's all about your rules. So for example, you've got MCU over on my left, you've got the comics right on my right. But generally, I try to keep it at one per character, So you've only got one Steve, one T'Challa, and so on. Over here, you've only really got one Steve and one T'Challa, in terms of comic and MCU. So I try to keep myself on a straight road, because otherwise it's impossible to do everything. Especially now, Legends are 25, 26, 27 pounds, which is just, it's hard to keep up with. When you think about imports, those prices I think have stayed pretty much the same for the last few years, and probably are about the same now as they have ever been. But again, as everything is rising, I think the main thing with finances for collecting is rules, because otherwise, in the golden age, it's easy to get carried away.
Very true. So, and also, before you go ahead and give your thoughts, I just also want to throw in there too, with this new financial aspect look of it, do you think you cut down on army building as well? Like, is that something that you take into account too? Like, if a figure is an army builder, do you say, oh, man, like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get 4 or 5 of these to build my army. I may just only be able to get 2 or just 1 for now, and see later if they go on sale, or I may be able to get them at a cheaper price later on.
Yeah, I agree there, Don.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. We'll come back around, Brandon. Sorry.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, as somebody, as you know, that bought every single hand ninja in Pennsylvania, that I'm a big fan of the army build. But just to speak on points there, Bosnia now. I mean, it's going to tie in also a little later on with the concept of space that we'll get into. Pump the brakes a little bit when I'm getting beyond, 4 or 5 different army builders on a shelf. And I would like to say that probably about a month or 2 ago, the guys over at the figure booth did a really good conversation regarding how much money you invest into your collection. I kind of just greased my gears, getting my head a little bit here going. And the entire summer, my expression on my channel's been, because there's just so many great lines out there, whether it's the different, obviously, all our bread and butter, G.I. Joe, Marvel Legends. There's just so many things now. Slow yourself down with these higher price points and realize, first of all, do I really need and want, or 2 different concepts as well? And, where do I pump the brake? And it's really the Brandon kind of mentioned. If you're going to invest a little bit more in army building, well, maybe I'm not, dare I say it, Dante, McFarlane Toys action figures that you might see that look, goes crazy playing the lawn game to get to clearance season. I would often buy anything because it was on clearance. But then all of a sudden, you buy 8 clearance figures for $10 that you can be investing in something you actually care about. So a lot of dynamics with those costing to make sure you're investing your money wisely.
Alex?
Yeah, like, Brendan's pretty right on point. Like, I think we all have, like, well, first of all, we're all pretty good, but, judging by our collections, at finding the best deals, I think, for the most part, navigating through those through those mines, like reseller mines, and making sure that we get stuff up when it's up for pre-order and all that stuff. But yeah, we have to have, like, I think we all have our own little rules. Like Brandon said, the one character for each um, uh, uh, MCU or comic book. Like, and then also, like, I have my rules too. Like, as far as the army building thing, like my stormtroopers, for example, um, they make so many different kinds of stormtroopers that, in my mind, if I just buy one of each, I don't really need to army build. They might not all look exactly alike, but I really don't care if I don't have, um, 8 of the same stock stormtroopers, because I'll have like a stormtrooper with like a pauldron, and to me, like, display wise, that's good enough for me. I don't have to have them be exactly the same. And also, the place where I buy the majority of my toys, I'd say about 80% of them, offer really good layaway, like, plans. So that also has really helped financially. And so, yeah, I think we all have kind of our own little rules. Like, for example, another example for me is that I collect the NECA Ninja Turtles, but I don't collect like the video game line. Whereas I know some people that collect the video game and the movie line and the cartoon line, and that for me that would be spreading myself a little bit too thin. But so you couple all those kind of rules that we have each other to go along with what Brandon said earlier about like pre-planning. Like, as long as you're not like dipping into like the real life funds, like the stuff that we're going to need, for you and yourself and your family, and you plan accordingly, I think you should avoid any kind of financial trouble. So,
Yeah. I guess for me, it depends on if I budget myself that much. So I have to see and look and like, man, do I really need this figure? I know it's something that looks good, it looks great, but is this something I need in my collection? And I think that's how I financially started looking at it now. It's just, if I need it in my collection to fill out this team, or I need it in my collection to say, hey, that's one of my favorite characters I need in my collection, yes. Um, I feel like in the army building range, if I can do 4 now, that's good. If I can do more, I'm a little bit more happier. But now that the prices are going up, things, I have to look at things realistically now. Like, am I able to do more than 4? Should I do more than 4? Because now, and as Tim said, we're going to go into now, how much space is that taking up? Am I going to have to sell these off later on? Because now I'm like, all right, I don't have the space for this. So for me, it's more, I have to say, do I need to have it in my collection, and is it a character I want to have in my collection? No matter like who makes the figure, if it's coming from Mezco, if it's coming from Hasbro, or like an independent toy company who's just starting up. Is this a character I need? Because I want to help independent toy companies, but my wallet says you don't have that time. You ain't got that kind of price to help independent toy companies right now. Like, you gotta think about other things that are coming up. So, and that's another thing too. Like, think about like a little bit of the future too. Like, well, if this happens, can I cover myself for this?
mhm.
Or if this happens, if me, let's say, me and my wife are planning something, can I really afford this now? Because if that pre-order hits, that's taking money out of it.
Mm.
You do have to have that disciplinary action for yourself and kind of have,
Restraint.
what's that?
Restraint.
Yeah, definitely restraint, because you have to see mostly. You got to understand to start putting save money aside. Even you put like maybe $5 in a checking account each time you get paid. Cover yourself. Use that money for your, as a backup, just in case. Like, oh man, all these are shipping now. Like, okay, let me hit the backup account that I have money saved set aside for, just in case something like this happens and I don't have the money for it right now. Uh, and I'm going to say this, and I know some of us are adults, some of us are just becoming, reaching that age or still young. be wary of credit cards. They're good to build up credit, but man, they will suck you in because of certain interest rate. Uh, because it's like, hey, you can put so much on here at zero balance, and you don't have to pay until like so many months. It's good.
That's a trap.
Exactly. Just be careful. Use it wisely. You don't. If you're going to be using a credit card, pay it off each month. Just save money aside. Say, hey, I got to pay this credit card off this month in full. I'm going to get it out of the way. That'll be better.
Dante,
I'm here
can I
giving
jump
financial
on two
advice.
things there?
Sure.
So, one point Brandon made, and in addition to the concept for the younger people watching, with credit cards, I'm a big debit card person. I don't carry a lot of cash. You tend to forget sometimes that when you swipe that debit out of your wallet, it's exactly what you're doing. So just because you're swiping that debit, picking up figures at Target, filling up that cart, I think when you actually see the cash in your hand, it may reflect a little bit more, because when it's coming out of your account directly, it's almost like funny money, because you're not seeing until you check.
Right.
Second point that Brandon mentioned, I can really jump on a little bit. Something I've considered and it's a bit of an ongoing joke on my channel, are either playing the long game or passing on MCU. I always collected both, and with price increases and again space to a lesser extent, I found unless it's somebody I really need in that moment, I play the long game on it. I wait till I might pass entirely and focus more on the comic book figure. So again, even considering those points, when you're doing comic, I like Brandon's strategy, saying I'm going to have like one of each character. I don't need to have all. I want the one that represents my collection the best, and maybe if I have some older ones, I move on from them. That's what I like.
Yeah. Before we move on to ML's question as well, Brandon, what was your thought on the army builders? I can't hear you.
You're muted.
Hear me?
Still muted.
Yep, we still can't hear you. What'd you do, Brandon? Oh, won't let you.
Let's move on to the next question and see if in the meantime Brandon can figure out what's going on.
Well, we did get a super chat from ML Series. Thank you for the super chat. He says, "What percentage of the income do you spend on this? 2%, 20%?" That is a good question.
Jeez, I don't know if I could get it down to percentages. God, probably I'd say about 10%, maybe. Along with, I'd say about 10%, maybe. If I had to guess.
For me, it'd probably be like, I want to say like 25 to 30%, because the only reason why I say that is because of the different lines that I collect. If you're collecting different lines, everything costs a different price. So when you're going through that, you're like imports are a little bit higher. So that's a little bit. I want to say that's a little bit more of the chunk that's taken out of it. So I say between like 25% and 30%.
Brandon, say something.
Yeah, can we hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah,
I dropped out and rejoined.
Yeah.
Quick point. I think on army building, for me it depends on the army that I'm building, right? So like what Alex said about stormtroopers, for me I have maybe 8 to 10 of the base, like regular stormtrooper, simply because with Mando happening, with Ahsoka coming up, when I think about the original trilogy, like simply for photos, I need that amount around it to make the photo dynamic, So in that respect, that's like a means to an end for me, because it looks much better when I'm shooting that many army that many soldiers in my army.
Mhm.
When you get to clone troopers, though, that's where the passion point comes in. So every battalion that they release, which is the same figure, painted orange, painted yellow, painted
Mhm.
blue, painted green, painted rainbow for all I care, that's where it gets difficult for me, because I'm like, well, I probably, not, I probably don't need to, but I enjoy it. Clone troopers are my favorite part of Star Wars. So most clones that they've released, I will have at least 3, because
Mhm.
you've got 2 and then a commander. Sometimes I go to 5, sometimes I go to 6, depending on what that trooper is and how much I appreciate or love that battalion. So like the 501st, which is Anakin's, I got a lot. For the 212th, which is Obi-Wan's, I got a lot. Because I know that for the scenes that I would want to play out in terms of photography for those characters, I would need that amount to fill out that environment for a photo. But then, for example, you get to like a lesser known battalion, like the Doom Troopers, and I've just got the Commander Doom and his 2 troopers, just the 3. So I think it all comes down to what is your why when it comes to army building. I think with Legends, I always blame The Amazing. The Amazing will make a photo and there's like a whole bunch of ninjas around. You're like, damn it, I'm going to do a Disavowed and buy up every ninja that I can find. But then again, it comes down to a passion point. The most army builders I have for Marvel is Ultrons, but that's because that Ursa Major wave Ultron is one of my favorite characters ever. So I got like 10 of those. But most of those, I did what Disavowed mentioned. I play the long game. I know that this figure is very well stocked in the UK. I knew that eventually it would go down in price. So most of those I picked up for maybe 50% off, and when you're getting 2 for the price of 1, it works out. And I think, again, it all comes to why are you doing this? Are you doing this because you just want it to look? Well, that's okay, but then what's your limit with that? With me, I know that if I'm taking a photo, so say, for example, you've got Spidey in the middle, I know I need 2 in front and 2 behind, at least, to make the photo dynamic. And then if I've got any more filling him around, then great. So I think that in terms of army building. In terms of the ML series question, which was a great question, off the top of my head, I don't know the exact percentage, but what I do know is that I run a very strict Excel spreadsheet, and this Excel spreadsheet dictates my life. If Excel says I can do it, I can do it. If Excel says I can't do it, then I go and cry in the corner about it for a minute.
Wow, a spreadsheet.
Well, because and the reason why I go for a spreadsheet, I used to keep a note, right, on my phone of upcoming releases, and I would know where I was buying it from, and then I would have a column that would be like how much it was going to cost. But the thing about a note on my phone is I can bend it to tell me what I want it to tell me, whereas an Excel spreadsheet, the numbers don't lie. The numbers are very clear cut. So I know that I know each month that I've got like my outgoings. These are the things that I have to be paying for. This is how much I need to be saving. This is how much blah 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 blah. And then I know that I'll have a percentage left over, which is or a portion left over, that I then decide, okay, how much of this do I really want to spend on action figures? Now, I'll be honest, most months the majority of it does go to action figures. But then, for example, I just got back from the US. I was visiting my girlfriend, and it was our 4-year anniversary, so I know that the action figure budget can't be as high as I'd like it to be because of that. So I do what Dante said, in the lead up to that time, I'll put money into a different fund, which is like girlfriend fund, action figure fund, holiday fund, whatever you want to call it. But I use the spreadsheet to guide all of the above, because that way it keeps me straight and narrow. Because otherwise, again, look at everything around us. It's so easy to get caught up in it and get carried away with it.
It is. It is very much. Omega Weapon 13 had a question as well, real quick. And this is going to be easy for me. I don't know about you guys. He asks how many, let me just go back and think of it. How many figures, how much money do you spend in a week? Yeah, how much do you spend per a week? I can tell you, it depends on what pre-orders are coming in. Honestly, that's what it is.
Yeah, that's it.
I personally don't do a lot of figure hunting in stores.
Yeah, it's crazy. No more,
Yeah,
really.
exactly. But just because of gas, and just because
The internet.
the
It's the internet's fault.
exactly.
Mhm.
Well, that too. It was not even just the internet. It's just I don't. By the time I get home or get off of work, I just want to get home.
Yeah.
I just want to enjoy the stuff I have at home. Yes, when I get that email saying, "Hey, it's shipped," I'm like, "Oh man, hey, it's at your house." Like, "Oh man, I can't wait to get home."
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
more excited about getting that package in the mail.
hmm
I would say
Then,
more than finding it in the store.
yeah, I agree with that part too. Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know
Um,
about you,
If I could
gentlemen.
add,
what was that, Tim?
sorry, I was going to say add in too. Those younger collectors, newer collectors out there, whether you're regardless of age, if you're new collecting, documents. Brandon has got going in a great direction right there, right down to the nickel and the dime. From an insurance standpoint, if you're not keeping a log of what you have, you really show your phone a spreadsheet like Brandon mentioned. Handwrite it in a diary if you have to, but family is in insurance. One of the first things they said to me when they learned about my secret collection here, you're sure you document what you have because God forbid a fire, a flood, weird thing. You want to be able to show what you have, and along the same lines, what I like to do in a note when I do buy a figure, I put it right into my inventory. I put it right in my note what I have when I bought it. Note to myself on there, essentially, if I pay retail or clearance. That way, when I am looking, I might have bought 6 figures, but the thing is, I can look and say, well, I bought 6 figures in the last 2 weeks, clearance figures for less than $6. So you don't want to think in terms of necessarily the time, because what those actually cost when you bought them also will play in the factor too. So just
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you guys like give yourself a little bit of extra wiggle room, like money wise, when it comes to like buying stuff? Like I like to overestimate like what something I'm gonna buy is gonna cost, including shipping and taxes and that kind of stuff. So I always give myself a little bit more wiggle room. Because in the end, if I end up saving a few cents because I overestimated, then yay for me.
I think you have to in that case because you never know what's going to pop up with that too. Because you think, oh, maybe because this one figure actually is coming in at this time, and then next thing you know, like, bam, that another figure's coming in at the same time. You're like, flip. So you got to. I would say, yeah, you have to always overestimate, include even with shipping. Now, if it's from a site that says, hey, if you do so much, purchase, at this time, you get free shipping and it's included, then you can probably say, all right, I
Yeah,
might
yeah,
I might be a little bit covered. I'm covered a little bit,
yeah.
but always I say you always have to like overestimate anytime.
Yeah. It seems like you're like one big thing for you, Dante, is like the when pre-orders pop up, and I guess you mean like sometimes things get delayed,
Yeah,
and they end up kind of pre-orders kind of end up meeting at the same time. So yeah, that definitely is a thing because I think especially after the COVID stuff, a lot of our pre-orders were pushed back and started popping up at an opportune time. So yeah, that's part of it in recent collectors history.
yeah,
I think a big thing for me is not just I don't just overestimate in terms of the cost, but I
Mhm.
overestimate in terms of shipping times, right?
Mhm.
So for
Yep, yep.
example, everything right now is due to ship in spring 2023. Yeah, okay. Of course
Yeah.
it is. It's not. Most of it will ship by Christmas 2022. So for example, the Disney Plus wave, I have that down on the budget doc as coming in at the end of August, early September. Now, I don't think we will see it till maybe late September, realistically, at the moment. But I also know that I could easily wake up one day in August and the UK stores say, "Hey, guess what? This is coming in early." Because for example, in the last couple of weeks, look at me.
yeah.
Do you see what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they've pretty much dropped, I think, 7 out of the 10 or 6 out of the 10 Spider-Man, Beyond Amazing 60th Spider-Man items in that summer program in the space of 10 days.
Exactly.
And I had all of those down as July, because I know that in previous years they start trickling through maybe at the end of June. They usually drop in July, but sometimes they might come in August, September. So I put them all in July because I thought, worst case scenario, they'll all arrive at once. Which has meant that once July comes around and everything drops up on my doorstep, I can only be excited because it's on my doorstep. I don't have to stress because, I didn't prepare for this. Because the thing is, I think once you've been in the game long enough, you never know things for certain, but you have a pretty good track record that you can actually predict how things are going to go. And I think it's always better to be, prepared than stressed and shocked and, oh no, what do I eat this month? Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah.
When I see you and Dan and get your stuff, I'm like, Wild's about to get punched in the gut. Let me go get it ready.
Yeah. Because and that's just how it's been. Like, especially I think if you are a serious Hasbro collector and you collect a whole bunch of lines, like I can't remember who said it here earlier. I think maybe was it Greg? Yeah, Greg said that I got hammered on pre-orders hitting from Walmart on the G.I. Joe retro carded 6-inch figures. That was $200 I didn't plan on this month.
Yeah.
Like, and that $200 can go a long way depending on how you spend it. You know. And again, I think it comes back to why you're spending what you're spending. Because when I look at these figures, I know that for the Infinity Saga last year, Odin, Infinity War Thor, the Walmart Captain America, the Infinity War Captain America, those are just 3 off the top of my head. I could have waited another 6 to 8 months and got those for less than or around half price. You know, but then at the same time, the Mark III Iron Man sold out like that and very rarely back into stock. So it's hard to predict, but again, I think it's just a matter of what risks are you willing to take. And I think one thing that Dante had said earlier was, like, for me, for example, at the moment I'm conscious of growing my Instagram. So do I want to wait 6 months and be the last person to put this thing up? Or do I want to get it now, put it up, make the most of it while it's topical and while it is the 60th anniversary and while we all care about Spider-Man before, you know, Wakanda Forever drops or Ant-Man 3 drops or so on drops and all of a sudden the hype moves to something else, you know? So it's tough.
Yeah.
It's a thing to manage.
Have you noticed that if you like ride the wave of the hype of whatever is current, that it does make a difference?
Huge.
Yeah.
Huge. Right? The controller wave, I only really wanted Blue Marvel and US Agent. Those were the only 2 I pre-ordered in that wave. Didn't care for Quake. I would pick up Maria Hill later down the line. Iron Man, I don't need another Iron Man suit. Thor, that's not my definitive version of Thor. I don't need him. And then Madam Hydra, that's the same old body. I don't need it. Controller, who the heck is that? You know? So for me, I struck off that entire wave, right? What happens? The UK gets it early. It's not even in US stores yet. You know, Big Bad Toy Store, I think maybe got a couple of them, but not even that. And we're talking, this is like now 2, maybe 3 months ago for us. So as the release date came closer and jumped for us, I thought, well, if the US hasn't got it, and Asia has, you know, Hong Kong didn't have it, Tokyo didn't have it, Indonesia didn't have it. Usually the US or Asia gets it. No one was getting it. So I'm thinking, well, if I don't capitalize on this, I'm silly. So for me, it was a double-edged sword. I started doing reels and different types of photography with it, and I got pretty much the whole wave, I think, apart from Madam Hydra, simply because I could wait on that one. But the others I knew would all, you know, be popular. That week, 2 weeks, 3-4 weeks since I started doing that, I grew 2,000-3,000 followers. It's like that. And you think, well, you know, I didn't want to get the whole wave. I only wanted 2. I ended up with 6. But for me, I retrospectively, I could justify the investment because of what it did for my profile. It raised it in ways and brought a spotlight to it. that Iron Man figure, that post is my most liked post. It's the most reach. It's the most popular post I've ever done, and that's an Iron Man that is now, look, front and center.
Mhm.
He deposed the invincible Iron Man that held that spot for 5 years.
Mhm.
So it's tough. I think that with this game you have to pick your battles, because for me, I then held back on other things. I cancelled other pre-orders that
Mhm.
I thought, well, actually, that's not so much a priority right now, so it's got to go.
Yeah.
All right, nice. And I do apologize. I forgot to start off with this question. Why do we collect what we
Oh.
collect? So Alex, we'll start off with you on this one.
Oh God, it's like a potpourri of different reasons.
I
Well,
love
one
that
for
word.
sure is it feeds my creativity. Like I have all this stuff surrounding me in my work studio. So for me, it inspires me to look over and see, beautiful paint. It's how stupid it sounds. Like beautiful paint apps on a figure, or if it has like soft goods or like a pose, or I mean, even down to like I use stuff for reference. Like when I was drawing GI Joe, I looked at like the GI Joe planes, and I would take pictures of them and actually draw it in the comics the way I see it. So first of all, it inspires me. Second of all, nostalgia is definitely plays a big part in it. The stuff that I collect now is basically the stuff that I collected when I was a very small child, but just a better version of those things. Um, and I mean, I guess there are other small reasons, but those are like the two big ones. So yeah, inspiration and nostalgia.
Um, I have to say, like, as a kid, just seeing as growing up, when you had those 5-inch figures, they were great. DC Superpowers were awesome. Uh, Voltron figures, 5-inch figures, were awesome. Having Voltron, the castle, and all those accessories with it, those were great times. They were awesome. And like I was saying, a lot of nostalgia plays a part of it. But then also, it's for me, it's more seeing the characters that I've seen in comics, watching on TV, now being made into 6-inch figures that I can hold and play out those stories. I don't care to say. I do care to say. It doesn't bother me. Play out those stories. Like I was like that kid who was sitting there watching these TV shows and doing the same thing with these 5-inch figures after the show went off. Like when it was afternoon time, you sat there and played those. Yep,
Yeah,
exactly. Building
I
out,
did
and I
that.
was a imaginative kid, so I had full stories that I would just do in my head. Nobody else knew. It was just me because I'm a child. But either way, it's when you hold those figures in your hand. And just real quick, Thor heard what you said, Brandon, and he was not too pleased, so he's on his way as well over there.
Hey, look, wait. I promise. Can you see him? He's there. He is. He did get a spot on the shelf. I promise.
But like, I like this Thor. Seeing him finally made in my hand, I enjoy it. Like I keep playing around posing with them. The Iron Man, after I seen Brandon with it and I read through the comics, I was like, man, this is like a cool little Iron Man. Like I started messing with that. I was like, this is one of my favorite figures out of the way. I do truly love Blue Marvel. I truly like the Quake, but I was like, man, these other figures are awesome. Like I didn't think I was enjoying them as much. But still, like when you see like the Black Suit Spider-Man, Retro Spider-Man, you see like the characters that they build around and that you've read in comics and that I read as a comic, like as a kid, like seeing them fully in articulation form where I could have them battling Spider-Man and the other characters like my DC Universe characters I love too. Like it just makes me like man, like I enjoy having them there. Especially I would say from like a long day or somebody upset me. I can sit back, look at them, hold them and pose them up and just like everything just melts away. Every care in the world, like you just feel good. Like you feel like man, I feel great right now. Like this is it. Like
Yeah.
there's nothing else around me that's going to upset me.
Yeah.
That's a stress reliever for me.
Therapeutic. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Totally. That's one of the smaller reasons I was. Yeah.
exactly. And it's just like when you have a collection that's it's very well rounded. Like you just grab like one of your favorite characters, you sit
Yeah.
there in your chair, you just relax, and just like you sit there and play with the figure.
Mm.
And everything that you knew that was making you upset during that day is gone. Like now you feel refreshed. You feel like, yes, okay, now I can finish out the day on a good note. Tomorrow's a new day, but this little piece of plastic has got me through what I needed to get through.
Mm-hmm. Tim.
Yeah, I think the best two major reasons. I think in my more advanced stage is nostalgia, as Alex.
Mm.
Secondly, relaxation. Um, I, I would say that basically my entire life back to when I was two parts of it. There was the diehard sports, got everything that I got to be an adult. Outside of my regular day job, I was coaching 30 hours per week for sports, and then there was the other half of me, which was kind of like the nerd, which I is. Heck, the nerds won. Way I see it. And looking back at it, to the point that now, all that time put into sports really burnt me out. I mean, that was hard. It was sliding scale. It was more the sports end of it, coaching, playing, training, everything else. And I think now that I've kind of moved on phase and more into my collecting, which I have in the last, I really take a lot of enjoyment as that being my recreation. As you mentioned, Dante, that's the thing that, it's a positive thing. And I talk about this on my channel, that this is meant to, I don't want to be overly negative when talking about action figures and toys. They're meant to bring us joy. Not, that's kind of the first thing. And then the second thing is, as I mentioned about my childhood, when I started realizing I get, but like look at my guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can get things like this, and they're articulated, and I've read comic books my whole life. That nostalgia is wonderful. Wow, I remember watching Days of Future Past after school when I ran home from the bus stop in the afternoon. Or even now, you mentioned online shopping. I pre-order things, but that nostalgia even ties in with like the story of where I find a figure. I can tell you the first time I got a Nick Fury figure in a Walmart at the end of the summer. So making that connection to the store and just the overall relaxation point of it, I think are the main reasons why I've delved.
It's so strange though, Tim. Though it's like back in the day when we would have to go to stores to purchase stuff. It's like you said, we could make that connection. There's like a story behind it, like a trip behind it. But now, our people that are collecting now, they're gonna be like, hey, I remember when I was sitting in front of my computer and I pre-ordered this, whatever on BBTS. So I don't think so. It's like that's kind of sad that we don't have because something could have happened to us like on our way to the store from after buying whatever it was, and that we connect to that experience. And I think we kind of lost that, by going the way.
I think that just a step further too, Alex. Like I think back to childhood, and I can't speak fortunate. I had a great family around me. Obviously, I'm very fortunate for that. I can recall things like shelf was a good report card, or that figure was a Christmas present. Whereas now, but I can tell you,
a Christmas present was a big one.
Yeah, my Monster Venom, the deluxe Monster Venom, of my very good friend's 6-packs and knickknacks went. I stopped at a Books A Million. She had to change in their bathroom. That's a whole other story for getting my tuxedo. But I literally bought that Venom the morning of his wedding. So whenever I see that figure on my shelf, it's not just, oh, that's Venom. It's, I bought that day. So I think there's something to be said for those stories. Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah. Did you want to say something, Dante? Go ahead.
I was gonna say I was gonna let Brandon go.
Okay, go ahead.
For me, it's interesting because the way I kind of started out with all of this was when I was a kid. I used to love Animal Planet and National Geographic and The Lion King and Tarzan. So I used to build Pride Rock from The Lion King out of pillows, and then I would put all of the lions would be on Pride Rock, obviously, and then everything else, all the other animals would be around Pride Rock. So and there are pictures of me as a kid on our dining room table, and you can see my dad cooking in the kitchen in the background, and I'm there literally setting up like a Pride Rock. So for me, when I was a kid, I used to just, same as what Dante was like, whether it was Pokemon, Power Rangers, Dragon Ball, Marvel, Star Wars, whatever, I used to love just building out those worlds, seeing something, loving it, and then building it out. I think there was a period of time, I think, as I grew up, I kind of lost touch with action figures or toys generally. But I think that was also because I remember a time where there was kind of a lull in what was available in terms of toys and action figures and stuff like that. I remember that as a kid, as Disavowed says, as Tim says, walking through those Toys R Us aisles and being like, wow. And as a kid,
that's gone, man.
I remember the store shelves were just for miles. It felt like, and I think there is a certain magic. Just on a slight side note, I think there's a certain magic with that has gone. But then, I was in Wilmington recently, and my girlfriend went to a workout class. But there was a Walgreens around the corner. So I thought, oh, what the heck? I'll go and I'll just go and have a look. And I walk in. And I go to the toy aisle. I expect nothing because Walgreens never has anything these days. And lo and behold, there's a 212th Battalion Star Wars Clone Trooper staring me right in the face. I was like, I was looking around to celebrate with somebody because I was so happy, So I think the thrill of the hunt. I think those moments. I think there's still a magic there nowadays with that, but it's definitely more sparing than it was when we were kids, if you like, And exactly. I think sometimes that magic maybe has evolved in a way, like Dante says.
Yeah.
Oh, the email, your order has shipped.
Yes.
Let's go.
Or watching the tracking.
It is exactly. It's immediately runs to window. Is it here yet? Is it?
Yes.
Here?
Yes.
So that magic has definitely evolved. But again, I think for me, the why I collect, I always. Every time I pick up one of these, I always feel like if I was to look in the mirror while picking this up, I would see, 5-year-old me building Pride Rock and putting his animals around it, I think I then got to a place where collecting kind of went a bit mad for me, so I got back into Legends in 2013 with Iron Man 3, with the Return of Marvel Legends, loved it. And everything kind of just boomed from there for me, and I think at a time I was just getting everything. I would get Toy Biz, I would get old stuff, I would backtrack, I would get new stuff, I would get everything that was new, and I kind of remember one day it being too much, and it was a bit overwhelming, and so that was when my why started to change. That I then sold a lot, I cleared out a lot, and I kind of would only just pick and choose, and that's where my rules started to come in. And then I think where I've gotten to with it now actually started with COVID. I think the second or third lockdown that we had, it was from, say, October to March 2020 into 2021. And my mental health personally went, because I was working from home. And I would start work and it would be dark. And I would finish work and it would be dark outside. Yeah. And so my world suddenly got darker and darker and darker. And it got to a point where I realized, actually, I need something. I need an outlet that can actually, give me something to energize myself with. And that was where I looked at my camera. I'd loved photography for about 10 years. I had my camera for. And I thought, hold on, there's a whole niche of this community that actually does more with these things than just welcome to the collection, on the shelf you go, and that was for me where collecting went from collecting to an art form.
Mhm.
It evolved into an artistry, similar to what, like Alex says with his drawing. For me, it became a point of, some days I'll think, oh, there's no way I could shoot that scene. And then I say, well, actually, let me try. And I'll build something together, and then I'll sit back, I'll get the shot, and I kind of sit back, and I'm like teary-eyed thinking, damn, I got it. And in the almost 18 months since I picked up that camera, that in and of itself has saved my life.
Mhm.
Because I was in a really bad place. Like there was no light at the end of the tunnel. It was just like bleak and dismal. And I don't know how, what that would have done to me had I kept going on that road without switching lanes, if you like. So I think to have that escape, to have that outlet, to have that thing that really lifts your spirit and just helps you to soar it's a really special thing. And I think my favorite part of this hobby is that, sure, all of that is great and it's fun and it carries me. But once I get carried and I'm flying, I look around me and I see Dante, I see Alex, I see Tim, I see everybody in the chat, and you think, hold on, there is a whole community of us that loves something, that shares a bond and a passion for something. People that, by all accounts, should never and would never have met. How the heck would the four of us have ever met each other without these things? We just wouldn't have. It wouldn't have happened,
Exactly.
But simply because we're in different sides of the world, So to think that something so simple can have such a lasting and enduring effect. I do not know what my daily day looks like without messaging Dan and Rich or Bring Toys to Work. And because it's become such an embedded part of my life, of community, of who I am, of my identity. And I think the whys like that, sometimes people just don't get it. Because they all they see is pew, 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 but they don't realize how powerful that pew, 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 pew actually is.
Exactly. Just real quick before we move on.
Sir,
Sorry.
you should have been beautifully put, sir. That was more
Exactly. Yes.
It dropped out. What did you say? I should be what?
I said, honestly, sir, you should have been a poet. That was beautiful. That was. I couldn't put that any better myself. Yes, sir.
Just real quick before we move on to super chats here that we got two. I wanted to say, I think with that magic, as you were saying, as we were talking about earlier, with going to the store and finding it, I think because Toys R Us is no longer around.
Yeah, that plays a big.
It takes a lot out of that magic.
Yeah, and not just Toys R Us, but just toy stores in general. I mean, there's way less of them than there were, 10 years ago.
And I say Toys R Us just because
that's the one that we.
Right, but because when you go to a Target, yeah, you could, it's cool you find it, but look how small Target's aisle is. When you went to Toys R Us, you had a full length of an aisle.
Yeah,
like, there was something you were going to find that you weren't going to leave with nothing there. You were going to leave with something, even if you just like, okay, they didn't have what I want. Oh, but what's this? Like, you had spots. They have things that made you like, oh wow, I just found this. Like, I didn't think this was even out, or I didn't know anybody made this. You always left with something from Toys R Us. And I think because Toys R Us is gone, there's that gaping hole of, man, somebody needs to make a toy store that can fill that spot like Toys R Us did.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, it's kind of like, even if you try to fill that spot, you're going to lose money. Right. Yeah. It's not going to be the same. And they're not going to probably be there long, unfortunately, which is a sad part. Because they're going to have extra stock of something, because as we always go to, as we see Target, how many Landos do we always see on those shelf? How many WWE figures that nobody wants seen on a shelf? Full shelf of Motu Revelation figures and Motu figures. Like, you see that and you're like, man, like, if they're sitting on just these small shelves at Target and Walmart, how's a store that's going to be just dedicated to toys going to survive?
Yeah.
ML Series says,
and the increase of e-com as well. Sorry.
That is true. That is very true. ML Series with another super chat. Thank you very much. He says, do you include shipping when you log a purchase? Because shipping's always in there. So I'm like, to me, it's already in there. So I'm like, all right, cool. I already know how much like everything is all together.
I like to before I make a decision on something, like I will add something to the cart and then go to like the final process just so I could see everything tallied up before I hit like purchase or whatever. And then like sometimes I'll just go back and then I'll do the same thing for another item and weigh my So that's another way that I kind of budget myself.
Gotcha. Brandon, Tim.
Go ahead, Tim.
Okay, thank you. It's amazing because the more we get into these conversations, there's so many splinter. So the question was, as posed, do we calculate in our shipping? And say yes, I do. But that almost like dovetails into a secondary concept, which is to get it faster. If you're a reviewer, you need that quick game. That's all about, you got to be the first, the fastest out there, right? Mm-hmm. Bobby, last, right? So I would even add to that too, like, I'll pose to you, Jennifer, is, do you pay for the quickest shipping to get it first? Or do you pay to get it 5-6 days later? So but there's a question, I do include shipping in mind. That question to you guys as you answer.
Gotcha. Let's see. Then we got another super chat. Hold on, make sure I didn't miss that one. Okay.
Yeah, a couple.
Yeah. From your boys got toys. Thank you for the super chat. It's an exercise in creativity. It's a respite from the stress of everyday life. Is a reminder that you can be more than the sum of your parts, and is a tangible piece of childhood happiness. That's why I collect. Thank you. That is
I love that. You boys got toys. That was very well put.
Then we got one from Bring Toys to Work with the super chat. Thank you very much. I used to collect for my own personal joy, but now I collect because I want to use my passion for action figures to bring people joy. I believe we should share our passion with others. Very true.
Yeah. Just to piggyback on a few things that we talked about, you'd be surprised, Brandon, how if people were more open to speaking about like mental health and stuff, how much of the people in our community collect for the same reasons that you collect, whether it be because they had a tough time during COVID or just for general mental health. And it kind of also plays into what Dante was saying, it's therapeutic to some level to all of us. And then also, how much does, like, out of my own curiosity, how much does like financial kind of play into why we collect, why you guys collect? Because, for example, like you guys know I collect like hot toys, and although I never plan on like selling them, in the back of my mind, when I make a purchase, I always tell myself, well, at least I know if I ever do need to sell them, I can make this much back if I try. So does not necessarily reselling, because I know there's a couple of us here, like Dante, who likes to buy extras just to give away to the community on some occasion. But what about like the financial part of it? Like, is that a reason why you guys collect too? Like, at least collect certain lines or certain characters?
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know.
For me, so my limit is 1/12 scale.
Mm.
I very rarely will go below 1/12 to say vintage collection. I think for vintage, I maybe have like a couple of key characters, if you like, just because I think vintage collection is on fire these days. But I don't have them displayed. I don't have them out. They're kind of just ziplocked and away. And hot toys. The only hot toy I have left is Stan Lee. For obvious reasons, that it's Stan the Man, right? But for me, so I basically straddle between Hasbro and imports. and I usually describe it as like Hasbro is like the pride of my collection, right? Because the Hasbro lines, you get a depth and breadth, especially with Legends. I think that's the best toy line on the planet, of so many different characters, so many different options, and blah blah blah. And the same applies Star Wars, Power Rangers, and so on. But for me, I usually describe imports as like the joy of my collection. So they're two sides, right? The pride and the joy. The reason why I say imports is like the joy of my collection is not to take away from the Hasbro stuff. And that's the best Marvel Legend that was ever done, by the way. Don't be any different. Is because like look at this new Gohan, right? Like I could not get here. I could not get other character. I could not get Hasbro figures into poses that I could get this guy in. Like my posing would not be at the level that I've got it to today without imports, because of that range of motion, because of all of the different. Because basically what it taught me about plastic, like I'm trying to think of the word, anomaly. Anatomy is what I'm looking for. Like plastic anatomy, right? Like being able to understand what how the body moves in particular ways to make the posing look even more natural and more effective. So for me, like for the financial side of it, it comes down to the Hasbro collection gets the scale of the environment and helps me build it out, and is more wide scale. But then my imports is much deeper, and for me, imports, it's tough because I try really hard to keep it one per character. But then, for example, I have Avengers Assemble Thor, I have Ragnarok Thor, I have Love and Thunder Thor, I have Infinity War Thor, and I have Endgame Thor. I don't need 5 Thors. I just don't, you know. But over the years, mainly because I've never really bothered to cull my import collection down. But mainly over the years because I look at it and I'm like, well, I can't use Ragnarok Thor in an Endgame Thor photo. It just doesn't work. You know, I can't use Infinity War Thor in Avengers Assemble photos. So sometimes in that way, the finances can be a bit picky, because I'm like, well, import figures are not cheap. $50 a figure, right? That's 50, 100, 150, 200. That's $250 on the same character that I shouldn't really have done, if that makes sense. So sometimes you really have to. But I mean, if I look at those 5 figures, have come out over maybe like a 7-year time span. So I get why I've done what I've done, you know. But for me, the financial side of what I choose, which I think was your question, I'm hoping I've answered it correctly.
No, you're right.
Is that I have to be more conscious of what repeat purchases I'm making and why I'm making those purchases. Because like this, for example, Legends, I only have one Legends movie Thor on the shelf. But because of photography, at least that's the excuse I've been feeding myself for years, is I have different versions of something that I really don't need different versions of.
Yeah, sure.
But I've just not been brave enough to say, actually, I'm going to let that go now. You know?
Oh, sorry. Just going to go ahead. We're going to move to the next question, just because of timing. So dealing with the space or lack of thereof for collecting. So how do you deal with spacing with your collection? There is a lot to deal with. I know, and I want to add this in there too, because I thought about this today. We clamor for a lot of vehicles for figures, and we ask for like these big vehicles, but then now when it takes up that realty space in our collection, what do we do with it? Like, do we keep it? Do we try to make room for other figures around it? Or do you just say, you know what, it's time for it to go? It's brought me the joy that I did, and now it brings somebody else joy. I'll go ahead and take this one first. So right now I'm kind of like a little purge. I'm finding stuff to purge right now. I'm not gonna lie, because it has gotten down. It's gotten to like, wow, don't have enough space. Like the one thing I probably would never get rid of is my DC Universe collection, because I love that. I love what Mattel did with that. A lot of people do not, but I love it. So that's one thing I would never try. I would never purge unless I got like doubles of it. The legends, I do purge some of them as well. Because some of them is just like, all right, I kind of bought this in the hype of things when it was at where I was hyped up about it. I was like, and everybody else was kind of hyped up about it. I was like, ooh, yeah, this is great. But it does take up space, and then like right now, I'm finding a hard time like what to display. It kind of makes it hard. Like, what can I display? What should be displayed? What do I full teams of displaying? And teams are always ever so changing, and you have like the more updated costumes that you're getting too. And it's like, should I show the updated? Do I display the updated ones? Do I display the old school ones? It's like you kind of think about like what one brings you kind of happiness, and then you're like, well, the other one's got to get stored away because don't have that space. With vehicles, right now that is a very big issue because right now the Mattel Batmobile takes up space on top of the DTOF. That's realty space that I could put more figures at. There's other Batmobiles I have that are taking up space on top of the DTOF. More space that's being taken up by those figures. Buzz Lightyear ships, I haven't even put those anywhere yet, and I know they're going to take up space. So it's just like now it's like, do I keep it? Do I sell it? Or do I go put it in storage somewhere? Find a store spot and sit it there and chill. Like that's where it comes down to is like, what do you know what you're going to like keep displayed for a long time? The only thing I could say that's never going to get moved is probably the Mezco shelf because they have their own little shelf, they're their own thing, and I'm very selective of the Mezcos I get. I have to say that.
Is that partly because they're pretty expensive and you've invested more money in them individually than the others because they're more like prime figures?
I have to say,
top shelf figures.
Yes and no, because the Mezcos and imports have their own DTOF. Because those are the ones that like, man, I spent the most money on these bad boys. You best believe they're going to get some retail space. I don't care who's got to move. Somebody's like, you gonna move out. I'm kicking people out of there, like shelf space. Like, look, you can pay your rent this month. You gotta go. You gotta go.
Yeah.
Those and I think that's partially it too because these are the ones I pay top premium dollar for. Yes, I gotta display them. Yes, they have to be open. Yes, they have to sit there and be seen by me. Like I want to look there and see them and just be like, man, y'all looking good today. Y'all looking really good today.
Yeah.
Now for the people who keep stuff in boxes, like a friend of mine, he does he keeps most of his turtles in boxes. I just don't know how, like, because you run out of space so quickly when everything's still in a box, and I just can't do it. Like if it's like wall space, fine. You're still in like the retro cards, like what Dan does, what Action Figure Skinny does with his, like put them on a card on the wall. That's fine. That's cool. That's easy space. But when it's like a full big box, I just don't know how you do it. Like, I don't know. More power to you. I don't know how you do it because I want those things out of the box and not gonna take up space. And I'm just to end this real quick. The one that takes up the space the most right now for me is gargoyles. Those
big ass wings
are ridiculous. They're about the size of a vehicle. NECA gargoyles are about the size of a vehicle. But that's it. That's it for me.
Can I tag for this one? What's in my brain? Really quick, that I've opened one bill, and that's Bronx. I haven't opened any of the other ones. Know where to go with them. All right, so I feel like I can tie together a couple things we've talked about to one, hopefully, succinct point. The vehicles question, Don, to tie them to current events and say to his tank or not to his tank. And I bring that up because we've talked a lot about it over on my streams, and I've really I want it. I'm so happy this. I'm so happy it's making people happy. And I mentioned earlier, I have a whole shelf of Hasbro motorcycles. I'm not a motorcycle guy. I don't own a motorcycle. I don't ride motorcycles, but I have all these motorcycles, and that's a whole shelf, right? And the reason I mentioned kind of tying into a concept we discussed, brought up, which was the concept of when you're purchasing your figures, are you thinking about it? I know for that HasLab, I'm sorry, for the JoJo Classified his tank project investment. I know it's expensive, but I know it's going to hold its value, and then some are going to be valuable figures, as they're going to be mostly exclusive. But I think to myself, I just don't have the space for it, and do I really need it? You know, and so together, you know, you really have to consider the space you have, what you want to display. Those are concerned. We ask for them. We want them. But before you say you really want it, what do you take? I don't know what I would do with it. My Sentinel, I do Sentinel Sunday every week. I post a picture every Instagram page. That's the way I play with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I hit as great as it looks. So just kind of tying those concepts together. Those are my thoughts on it. You really have to consider your space, your motivations for collecting, what you're trying to build overall, and this just because it's a good investment, you don't need to pick it up. But those are my
Brandon. Well, we already see how your questions are split.
Yeah. Well, so this is a really interesting thing. So for me, all of my figures used to just be on one level, right? Literally a year ago, all of my figures were just on one level. But Dan had been hounding me for months to get rises. He said, trust me, once you get rises, you will never look at your figures the same way again. And he was right, because now I can actually see them all. You know, I use the exact same space, but completely differently. And now every single figure I have that's Hasbro is on these shelves behind me, and it is a game changer, because I use the same space, but so much more wisely, in that I can see more, I can fit more on, and I love it. But the thing that is difficult is, like, I look at my MCU shelf, right? That takes up 3 of these displays, or 3 of these shelves, and you know, Kevin Feige just announced the rest of Phase 5 and Phase 6, and you know, the Hasbro guys are like, we're not slowing down anytime soon. And I'm thinking, well, and my MCU shelves right now are literally 1 per character. So on those shelves are unique characters to the MCU, and that takes up 3 shelves full of unique characters, and we're about to get even more coming. So the simple answer of how is it manageable long term, only the plastic gods could truly answer that. If I'm honest, how do I manage it? I make it up as I go along. If I'm honest, box wise, nowadays I bin all the boxes, bin them, unless the only thing I usually don't bin is Black Series, and that's because I know that Black Series collectors can usually care more about the boxes. And I only usually do that on things that I think I may or may not be, I may be likely to sell later down the line. So, for example, exclusives I'll keep, and usually I will keep those just in shipper boxes. But Legends, I bin them. Usually, do I have one around me? Okay, I don't have one to hand. But you know, on the back of Legends boxes, they have those bios with the character art and then the little bit here. What I do now is I cut the back as if it's like a little trading card, and then I bin the box. And then I have got a Ziploc bag somewhere that has all of those backs in it, of all the different cards, of all the different characters that we've gotten. Simply because that's my fun way of being able to keep something that soothes my conscience of having that piece of physical, you know, material, while also not taking up the space. Yeah. The only thing that does take up space for me is my import boxes. I don't bin any import boxes because there are too many parts. So, for example, like this, I mean, the tray is, I've got the tray out right now because I've been posing them, but the parts all stay in that box, and then they all go within plastic tray, like larger plastic storage trays. Usually I have them logged so that, like that. So you'll see the characters thing facing up, so I know exactly what box it is. And that is what takes up the most amount of space, really, for me. But I think the biggest challenge is shelf space, you know, and managing what you put on the shelf. And as I've said before, my number one rule is one per character. I try not to clog the shelves. And like Dante was saying about purging is a really big thing. In the last year and a half, 2 years, I've done a lot of that where I chose that one character and then I just decluttered the rest. But even now I'm at a point where the only things I display is Hasbro and my imports. And those are the two displays I have. So that's by imports I'm talking about SHF, Mezco, Mafex, and Sentinel. Other than that, NECA, McFarlane, Mattel, I very rarely buy into any other line because I just don't have the space for it, even if I wanted to. You know, the only Turtles I have is Splinter, Shredder, and then the 4 Turtles from the movies, and that's it. So simply because there's nowhere to put it.
I kind of agree with you with that because the only boxes I have currently right now are my imports, my Mezco ones, and my Valorous ones because I don't know when those points are going to go into effect because I need those. I want to make sure I have all my points still ready to go just in case Bobby says, "Hey, this is what you're doing with the points." So I keep all those boxes. So there's like a stack of them next to like the imports and the Mezco ones because like when you get the deluxe Mezco ones, like the Wolverine, they're in a 10. You can't get rid of that 10. Like that's just you're just wasting. And especially if you say like, hey, you know, I have my joy out of this Wolverine, I want to get rid of them later on. That 10, people when you sell it, people want that 10. Like you need to have that as part of the package. Like when you sell it, because if you're just selling a figure, like okay, now you can't get as much as you want for it. But it comes when you had a 10 and everything like, put in there, and it does help. I say with the Mezcos, it does help keep everything together when you have that. The imports, I do it just because it helps me keep everything like kind of situated in my mind. For me to just say like, hey, you know, I have all these pieces together. I know they go to this figure. Cool. With my other figures, like my Legends, my DC figures, like they all go into a compartment, plastic bin, and it's kind of like up for grabs. I don't know who belongs to who half the time. I'm like, okay, like this hand might go to with this. Yep, if it's right in this figure's hand, that's cool. That fits in the figure's arm, I'm cool. This will work. This will work what I need. That's how I like to do it because you never. Most of the hands do fit with Marvel Legends, and when you're ready to take that picture, you'll find something that like you can just use in that picture with it. Like, yeah, like Tim has. Like, I have like I'll show you real quick.
Little OCD. I started this project a few months ago. Everything, I had one of those and it got full. But hey, I love those tackle boxes, man.
Yeah, and these work. Like right now, it's kind of split up with like different stuff that I've just gotten recently. So I'm like, okay, now I kind of know what it is. I wish I would have did this a long time ago because still I don't know what is up. Like what's half it stuff is in these anyway. So I don't know. Like I go look for something like I don't know whose hand this belongs to. I don't remember what character, and I gotta go back and look and see like what I was trying to find in the first place, and I get distracted half the time.
For me,
I kept all my accessories in boxes, and then the boxes were on shelves. And when my shelves got decisions, so I started getting rid of those, and I needed a way then to put those accessories. So I started ordering on Amazon, pack of 500 with little plastic baggies, label what it is, pull them out of the box, bin, and then if I have to part with them later, it's a little bit easier to find them.
Yeah, and that's what I need to start doing. I need to start labeling because like accessories, I know Legend stuff like kind of goes like multi-cross everything and stuff does change every once in a while, but I'm just like right now I'm trying to find Hercules hands because I took them off and I don't know where I put them at. So Hercules hands are floating between like down here and upstairs in another room. And it's like Hercules handless at this point. But it does help like to have stuff organized, and and that's something I need to work on a little bit better to get organized around.
I have a display cabinet just for my 1/6 accessories because a lot of them come with like the extra head sculpts, and I mean they look awesome displayed just by themselves. So I have like a section where it's just all the extra head sculpts, and so I have the bin stuff. I also do. For the most part, I try to get rid of something if I'm purchasing something of similar scale or value. So like, and then I also limit the number of lines that I collect. I really only collect like about 4 lines really, and that also like I used to collect like wrestling figures and like a couple other more lines, and that's really helped with as far as like managing the space that I have. Boxes, I try to throw out most of the boxes except for like the 1/6 stuff. Um, but yeah, and it's funny, Brandon, because how you cut out the bio stuff in the back of the cards and all that stuff, because that's kind of what companies used to encourage kids to do, like back in the day. It's like you cut out the Ninja Turtle bios or the GI Joe points that you would mail in to get like a special figure. So that's pretty cool that you do that.
It's like my own little trading card game with myself.
Yeah.
It's it's a good way to go.
Yeah.
But just one interesting thing that I saw in the comments somewhere is 2 quick things. Omega Weapon 13 said, "How many McFarlane figures do you have, Brandon?" Only the Avatar figures from McFarlane, because McFarlane is McFarlane. I'll say that much. And one point that Greg was mentioned about the windowless boxes, I love the windowless boxes. You know why? I have no remorse. Bin. Right? They don't. I mean, don't get me wrong. They're fine, but they don't look lovely. They don't look like. And the other thing is, they don't encourage me to buy 2. So my favorite Marvel Legends and Black Series over the years, I will buy 2. And I do have a storage bin upstairs in the attic where I have just a range of Marvel Legends and Black Series figures that I just adore because of that window box packaging. Mm-hmm. In this new era, they saving me money. I can't thank them enough. And which is a big bonus. But then, to be fair, the VHS X-Men boxes, I've only had Storm and I've only got Storm and where am I? I've only got Storm and Wolverine so far. But I kept those boxes because that was like artwork. That was adorable. But what I like about that is that I can get 2. I can get 1. I don't have to get 2. To keep the box looking as nice as it looks. So it's. I think it's an interesting new world we're about to go into in terms of boxes.
Yeah, it seems like the companies are taking into account that a lot of collectors like to keep their boxes and have their toys displayed in them. Just like the artwork for the packaging is so much more detailed and intricate than it was in years past. That, I mean, I can see why some people like to keep the boxes because of the artwork.
Yeah. The chat is being flooded with a lot of pals, and I'm wondering why.
Dan's on his way, that's why.
Yeah, those Legend Liquor crew. They're like, yeah, we here. We got our liquor still. We're still drinking up, having a good time.
A bunch of drunk people in the chat, is that what you're saying?
Yes. No, I don't know. Maybe. I wish I was drinking right now. It'd be making me feel it. I'm just drinking my H2O.
Yeah.
But thank you everybody who's here watching us and joining us in the conversation. I do apologize. I can't get to everybody's comments, but I'm trying to get as much as I possibly can in there. But we'll move on to the next question. Differences in collecting in the region of the world and how it differs. So I know in the UK it's a whole different drastic change from the US now from what it was a couple of years ago. So Brandon,
more a question for Brandon than anybody else. Yeah.
Well, I was probably texted with this. So before the pandemic started, US was number 1 in getting stuff first. UK was always last. They're like, man, these guys over in the US, can you ship that over to us? Sure, we got you, no problem. Now, how the tables have turned, and they turned indeed.
Because I remember it used to be like it would either be things have just like magically popped up on Target shelves, or someone in Asia has gotten hands on early before stock was shipped out to the rest of the world, right? That's how it used to be pre-pandemic. And then we would kind of just get caught somewhere in between along the road. Maybe not, probably not. Sometimes we would. But you're right, the tables really have turned, because the way I think global shipping has been affected is my best guess. And because the UK is so much smaller than the US, it's so much easier for us to get access to things that there it's just so much harder to get access to. So for example, Walmart exclusives or Target exclusives or Walgreens exclusives, because that is just a general fan channel store exclusive here, it's not really an exclusive. It's not really limited. It's not harder to get. We'll have 5 or 6 different stores all stock the same product that only one retail chain of stores there stocks. So I think because of how things have evolved and changed in terms of the UK availability, it's really changed the game. But what's interesting for us is that 3 years ago, the standard price point was $19.99, and then it creeped up to $21.99, to the point that now I think we're seeing like $24.99, $25.99, which is just ridiculous. Like, we're talking $30, $35 for one figure, one Marvel Legends figure. And sometimes when you're looking at that new Thor like Dante has in hand, you think, yeah, let's go for it. It's worth it. But then you look at like Darwin, or you look at let's just stick with Madam Hydra, for example. These are characters that are just you can't justify that price point. And so therefore I think it helps in one hand because it helps you to be pickier about what you're buying, but on the other hand it can make it harder because sometimes it's a tough pill to swallow for what you're buying, but I mean, this year, and the man himself is here to speak to it, but we're sitting pretty. Like, we got just let me roll call for a second. We got Spider-Man Retro first. We got Walmart Doctor Strange first. We got Control Away first. We got Ulick first. We got Cyborg Thor first. We got all the Spider-Man stuff first. We got VHS X-Men first.
Jigsaw. Baron Zemo.
Jigsaw first. Baron Zemo we got first. The only things we didn't get first are the MCU waves. Doctor Strange, Love and Thunder, and I'm willing to bet Disney Plus and Wakanda Forever will hit the US first. But other than that, this year, everything was us.
Yeah.
Which has never happened ever.
Real quick before we move on, we got 2 people popping in. Mr. Cloud Foxwell joining us. And then Pow, it's downhill. I'm the other John. I'm John number 2.
Pow.
Firstly, make me apologise, right? I apologise for being very, very fashionably late. I've just finished up Legend Liquor on my stream, but I did tell everyone to come and join us and talk some more over here. So I did tell everyone to invade and say pow in the chat. So I apologise for disrupting any very serious conversations. I'm here to ruin the very serious talk with my nonsense. And I brought another friend. His name is Beast. You forgot to add him to the list of who got first. I got Beast first.
You're good, Dan. It's like the last few minutes is like the British invasion.
Okay, cool. I like it.
But,
I like it.
Thanks for being on, and Cloud, thanks for joining us as well.
Gentlemen, thank you for hanging with us. So we're just talking about right now is differences in collecting the region of the world and how it differs. You and Brandon are the only ones who could really say, because most of us are from the U.S., so we're just like, yeah.
It sounds like
we used to be first, now we're last.
Yeah. It never used to be this good for us. Hasbro Pulse has changed it. I'm sure Brandon already said. But yeah, since Hasbro Pulse UK has become more of an established thing, a lot of the independent stores now source directly from Hasbro Pulse. And our independent stores will get their stock from Pulse before Pulse releases their own stock. So like if you order from the independents, like we just seem to be getting it really quick. But I do think that the UK quota for Pulse, for example, is a lot smaller than like US, for example. Just think how big of a quantity US Pulse is going to need to fill their orders compared to the UK. England within itself is smaller than basically every state in America. Do you know, like, so it's basically like if each state in America had its own Pulse. That's sort of what we're experiencing, like a very small sort of, so like we can order something and we get it the next day. Like postage isn't an issue or anything like that. So it has been good. It's been good, but we had a lot of years, which I'm sure Brandon already mentioned, where I had to import stuff from Pay Extra just to get normal Marvel Legends. Had to be imported because retail didn't stock them. But as I said, we're living in a golden age, and these past like 4 years, I think, have been like really good, really, really good. So as I said, these shelves are full because of that. So we're in a good time. We're in a good time.
What did they say? What did Batman say? And he said, he's like, "You've been eating well." From Richard of Gotham. Of Gotham. Now, so that means I got to move over to UK. Great. Thank you guys.
Right? Yeah.
Thanks.
You're welcome. I've got a spare room. You can come stay here for a little bit. Get yourself set up.
Oh, I can stay and live with you? Great.
Yeah, I've got a spare room.
Me and my wife are moving over as soon as possible.
You work in IT. I work in IT. I could hire you as my assistant if you want.
Nah. I just want to fix computers. That's it.
Okay.
Put me down in the basement. I fix computers. That's it. I'm good on that.
Okay.
This sounds like a new Dante and Dan come to a TV show.
Yeah, we can make it happen.
Dan and Dan.
Yeah.
What was it like? Peter Griffin's like, my black son. My black son. For anybody seen Family Guy, you get the reference. So we'll move on a little bit. Ethnic representation in collecting, and how important is that to you? So in this case, how important is it to you that I have characters ethnic representation to you? How do you feel about that? And even if you don't have, what's your take on it? Like, how do you feel like seeing those characters that you may have grown up with? So particularly for me, it was always, John Stewart. Seeing him and actually seeing, like, getting a figure of him, it was awesome. Blue Marvel, finally getting that figure, that was like a cry that's been wanted, like a figure that everybody's been wanting. I've been wanting to see. But it's always good to see like a black character out there when you have a line of figures. No matter if it's from an independent or from a major company, it's always great to see, like, hey, if I have a child and I'm like, hey, look, Black Panther, like, look, we're representing these figures out. Like, look at that. Look, Sunman, Master of the Universe, look at that. Like, we're out there. We're not, it's not just every other hero, but it's us. How can I put it? Seeing the representation for us is there too. Like, it's not only, the heroes like of just one color, it's multiple colors. Like Shang-Chi wave. I know that wave wasn't really popular, but for people who are Asian, that's for their representation. Like, they see that, they're like, look, we're on these shelves. We can be just as great as everybody else. And that's how it feels for, when black characters out there, like, see, look, especially like when you see Storm, everybody loves Storm. No matter what color you are, everybody loves Storm. No matter, almost like no matter version she is, everybody enjoys her. So it's always that when you see your color, your ethnicity represented in a figure form, you're like, man, I gotta support that. And one of the biggest ones of that is The Amazing. He does it. He's like, hey, when he see Miles Morales, he's like, I'm buying like 60 of them figures. I'm just giving them out to kids. Like, I don't care. Like, whatever. That's what makes you like, yo, that makes me feel awesome. That's what feels good about it. Like, if I could buy like 70 of these and just give them out to just kids and just be like, look, see, this could be you. Keep working hard. Do not let anybody stop you from doing what you're doing. This could be you doing this, or this could be you in figure form. You never know. And you have an influence on somebody else.
No. I'll go. Well, I kind of can't. I can see that, like, now for kids and their parents, it's way more important than it was when some older folks like myself were kids. Like it's important for kids and their parents today to have ethnic representation in like the toys that they collect. And it's strange because when I was a kid, like my gateway to all of this collecting stuff was basically Luke Skywalker, who is, blonde hair and blue eyes. And I am of Hispanic origin. And I didn't necessarily identify with ethnicity when I was collecting, first starting out as a kid, because I kind of just looked for like who's a good hero. Like to me, it came down to that, and so it didn't matter to me if I was looking up to like a white dude. I mean, he had a lightsaber, and he was a good person. Those are the kind of things that I cared about. But today, it's very different, and I could see that with like my sister's kids. Like they are teenagers now, and when they bought toys, like they totally look for like that Hispanic representation in the figures that they bought. So it's a very different time now, and I think it's actually a pretty good thing that we've gotten to the point now, like these toy manufacturers, where they know it's important to kids too. It's not just people like the parents saying like you need to have. It's like I think they can see that there are kids in the streets walking around with like the other day, like a few weeks ago, I live in Harlem, so it's a predominantly Black and Spanish area, and I can't tell you how many kids I see like walking around with like a figure of their race. So it's so much more predominant now, and I think it's after decades of like people saying like you need to have more races represented in these toys, and I think after a while they kind of just it kind of just became apparent to them that it's essential for kids, and it's also like an educational tool now, because it opens up conversations that you probably wouldn't have with folks or kids at school about race and race relations. So I think they're doing a pretty good job with it now. Could always be better, but it is definitely more important now than it was back. That's for sure.
Yeah, and just real quick, I think it's good now because there's a lot of people, and we can always have the good with our community, and then there's always the bad too, because there's always somebody who's trying to gatekeep, like, well, Superman isn't black. Why we got to have a black Superman in the movie? Or why is Captain America black and Captain America? You need to understand that. Look, it doesn't hurt, no matter what color the actor is, as long as they do a good performance. That's all that matters. They're representing that character. I don't care if, and I should say, especially prevalent, like also in the anime community, where somebody cosplays a certain character, like, well, that character's not black.
Yep.
Why are you cosplaying that character as a black person? Like, what does it matter? That person likes that character. They want to cosplay it. Let them do it. We have to see it so these gatekeepers can be like, oh, well, I guess they did do this job. I guess it doesn't matter what color you are. You can play this character. It shouldn't matter. But just real quick, just too many gatekeepers of certain things that they try to be gatekeeping of. That's not yours to gatekeep. It never was yours to gatekeep, and it's not going to be yours to gatekeep, because there's going to be so many other people who come to that side like, let this person have this joy. Let them have this moment. This is their moment. Let them have it. Stay out of the way. Stay in the darkness where you were before. Do not come out. Because it's like when you turn the lights on and you see it. And I'm not saying anybody's house is like this, but you turn the lights on, cockroaches start coming, like start fleeing everywhere. When you turn the lights out, that's when the cockroaches start coming out. Like, But you got to just enjoy. And I'm trying to like say this as a joke, but let that person truly enjoy that moment. No matter if it's in action figure form, comic form, movie form, whatever, anime, let them enjoy it, because they finally, we didn't care about it too much as kids, but as we grew older, we were like, well, when are they going to start showing a little bit of us? And I asked this question each time. I wanted, how many times do we see really black superheroes as a mainstay in movies or TVs. Not a whole lot.
No.
When I was a kid, I just used to. I always knew which character was the black character. I didn't need to look at them. I just needed to know who dies in the first half an hour.
No.
Right. Exactly.
No.
And we kind of got that a little bit. And I, as much as I love this Meteor Man, Meteor Man was that black superhero movie.
Meteor Man.
It was funny. Yes, it was funny, but it was like, man, that was an all black movie. When you think about it, like when you sit there and watch that, it's an all black movie. You had like, I hate to say it, Bill Cosby, Sinbad. You had Martha Gibbons in it. Like you had a lot of like big name actors in that movie.
What
and it make you feel good.
Yeah. What was the name of that? Well, first of all, I think that like the ground zero for like this kind of stuff was really comics. Like for me, at least, it feels like comics were the first ones to kind of change the ethnicity or even the gender of a character, and that was like the testing ground to see like how it would fly with like movies and TV shows and toys and that kind of stuff. Yeah. But what was the name of that TV show? It was like the black character and it was a DC character. You talked about him before on the show. It was an animated show back in the 90s. I felt like that. It was like Static Shock.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I feel like that was like a good example of a show that was pushing ethnic stereotypes. Not pushing, but fighting against it. For kids, basically. Back in the 90s.
I forgot. And there is the Ripperverse that's just started. That's another good one. And Mr. Jones says, "Oh yeah," and Mr. Jones brings up Mantis. I forgot about Mantis. Yeah. Mantis was a great one. Or Carl Lumbly as that was awesome. Mm-hmm. I'm probably saying his last name wrong, and I do apologize. But Bring Toys to Work has a super chat. Thank you very much. Growing up, it bothered me not seeing too many superheroes who looked like me, but not some of my friends. I was happy discovering T'Challa when I was 5 and showing him to my friends. It made me so happy to see them smile. T'Challa will always, it cut it off. Sorry. Let's see.
Will always be my.
T'Challa
hero.
Will always be my hero. Thank you. I appreciate that. And you know what? When the Black Panther movie came out, and I took my mom to see it, we were super excited. I was hyped for that movie. I'm like, man, the Black Panther. They got Chadwick Boseman here. Like, oh man, we going. Man, after that movie ended, that theater was hype. They were clapping for at least a good 5 minutes. And I was like, I don't blame them. This was it. Like, we had to, and I want to say this, for black folks, we had to shout for this movie because we're like, look, we got a movie that shows a serious character. And it did it right. It was done right. It was done justice. It wasn't like some jokey joke movie. It was done right.
Yeah.
And I was hoping to think same thing for Shang-Chi. Like very rarely do you see a full-on Asian movie, like an Asian American movie like that. Like you don't see that too much. Like one of the few movies that, and I do love it, and it's held in high regard, is Kung Fu Hustle.
Oh yeah.
Great movie.
Yeah, awesome movie. Great movie. You know, kind of had his jokes in there, but Kung Fu Hustle was great. And some people still hold, and it's kind of like a cult favorite, Shaolin Soccer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For those who've never seen that, check them out. If you've never seen Kung Fu Hustle or Shaolin Soccer, they're both great movies. You can't go wrong with either one of them. We got Super Chat Stratton. Thank you very much. I don't buy figures for representation. I buy cool characters with the bonus that they belong in a certain ethnic group, like G.I. Joe Spirit, and this from a Latino Puerto Rican with light skin.
That is actually a great point. Yeah. Like back in the 80s, to think of like G.I. Joe, the cartoon show, and all the different races that they had there, and even some episodes were kind of focused on talking about that. Like I remember there's one episode where Roadblock, he's on R&R and he goes back to visit his family who own like a burger joint or something like that, and it's just like a black family from the bayou talking about like their background, and then Cobra tries to. So I think G.I. Joe was really ahead of the curve when it came to that kind of stuff back in the
Oh
day.
yeah, yeah. And it wasn't. And I had to say, like, sometimes in DC superpowers, it feels forced with Black Vulcan, Samurai. Like you just didn't really try. You didn't try DC. Like you were just like, yeah, here we go. Like no.
Yeah, I kind of feel like although I said earlier that the companies are more aware of representation and the stuff that they put out, I think there's also a small percentage of those companies that kind of do it just because they think it's the right thing to do and don't have really pure motives, I'd say, for putting out that kind of product. But that's big business.
All right, so we'll move on here. Let's see. We'll skip a couple of these questions because
for the record, I'm quiet in that question because I feel like I didn't really have much to add because like I always like a Simpsons quote, and there's a Simpsons line where Homer says like I'm a 25 to 50-year-old white male and everyone listens to me. Do you know, like I'm in that sort of bracket where I didn't have the same experiences as you guys, so it's not something that when I was younger I was even aware of. Do you know, like. Right. So it's not something that you become aware of until you become a little bit older and start seeing what's going on in the world. But in this day and age, bringing it just back to toys, I just want a figure that represents what we see on screen. It's as simple as that. But who's casting what movie is a whole different conversation. And don't just give us the main characters. Give us the side characters. Give us. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes you just get the main guy and the villain. I like the side characters. Give me them. We never get them in figure form. So.
That's kind of what I was saying before, man. Is like, I'm sorry, Brendan, real quickly, that I wasn't aware of it either when I was younger. But now I think kids are more aware of it, which is why we're getting, But anyways,
they're more. The kids are more involved in the world now because of the World Wide Web. Where before we just seen what we've seen on TV and movies. Where now kids are more involved in pop culture and just what's going on in the world, like because they see it on Twitter and Facebook and everything. So I think more kids are more aware now. Where back then we were a little bit more naive. We just we're in our own little bubbles.
Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah.
I think there's a few really important points here. I think that the first thing I'll say is on the ethnic side of things. So growing up for me, I have a mum that has blonde hair and blue eyes and fair skin. I have a dad that has that looks identical to me. If not a bit, a few shades darker. So growing up, I was in a way, I was at times colorblind because I had half of my family that looked like Dan, and then I had half of my family that looked like me. And I didn't really care because to me, they were my family. But one thing I was always conscious of was that as much as I was a blend of these two worlds, I would always notice the characters that looked a little bit closer to me. So, for example, I loved Obi-Wan Kenobi, but Mace Windu was my favorite because I saw a little bit more of myself in Mace Windu. But then, even when you get to the MCU, you've got Rhodey, you've got Falcon. These are people that are playing second fiddle to the main character, and I use those examples because they're the most famous examples. But I always, other than Will Smith, I always remembered growing up, other than Will Smith, and the other thing I'll say is other than Power Rangers, I always remember characters of color being supporting characters, not leading characters. I never really remembered seeing that and feeling it, really. They were always supporting characters. And I think the reason why it's so important today is because it teaches kids that you are also the hero of your own story. You do not have to play supporting role to anybody or everybody else. That your culture can also be celebrated as well as other cultures. If you look at Miss Marvel, for example, or Shang-Chi, or Black Panther, or Moon Knight, we're getting to expose ourselves to other areas of the world that we wouldn't necessarily have been exposed to 20 years ago when I was a kid, or 30 years ago when some of you were kids, because I think someone mentioned it in the chat earlier. I think it was California Red Devil. A lot of it also comes down to the profitability of things. we know that a white male lead star is gonna, Tom Cruise is gonna earn us however much we need, and so that's all we're gonna do. It wasn't until people like Will Smith or Denzel Washington or Sam Jackson where they started to break a box office mold of things could be done differently, and then the glass ceiling was shattered with Black Panther or Captain Marvel, for example, for women, and Wonder Woman. But I think representation on that scale of what it teaches you, that actually you can be that leading character as well as other people, and that celebration of culture is really important. Beyond that, the question was about ethnic representation. I just want to take a point with that representation part of the question. Representation does not stop at the color of your skin. Representation also reflects the content of our character, and I think Cloud will probably speak better to this than me, but I can only touch on it as an ally of if everybody around the table has the exact same experiences as you, there's not a lot that you'll likely learn. But if everybody around that table looks different and comes from different backgrounds and has different experiences and grew up in different ways in different places, then all of a sudden everybody around that table is so much more is so much richer for it, because you actually get to learn more. You get different perspectives, you get different ideas, different viewpoints, different cultural aspects. And a great example of this is in the UK. I can walk down to the high street, the main street, and you'll see Chinese restaurants, you'll see Indian restaurants, you will see the pub with fish and chips on the end. Like, the more diverse that community is, then the more the better it is for it. And I mean, at the end of Pride Month, I put up a few posts that I wanted to pay tribute to that community, to the LGBTQI community, to also put a spotlight on them, because for me, as somebody within our community, I feel a particular responsibility to champion those minorities that don't always get the limelight. Like, it's great that we're going to spend the next month celebrating Peter Parker, but I don't forget that my Spider-Man personally is Miles Morales. It will always be Miles Morales, because sitting in a cinema and hearing him sing Sunflower while he was doodling is something I'd never seen Peter Parker do. And that touched me in ways that I could never describe, My last point is, and I want to pass over to Cloud in a minute on that, so that we can get more into that point, because I think it's important. My last thing is similar to what Dante was saying about gatekeeping. Striden's point, I know, was well-intentioned about, I don't buy it for the representation. It's just a bonus for me. I think because that's a viewpoint, but sometimes there are viewpoints like that from people that might look like me or like Dante or like Alex and so on, that kind of can undercut the championing that the rest of us are trying to do. And they don't. Sometimes they mean to, and they're vicious, and they're frankly vile about it. And other times it just is what it is. That I don't, for Striden, for example, it's just a bonus to me. I enjoy it. But I think it's important in case there is anybody listening out there that does this who may need some education on it, I think it's important not to undercut those who are championing the causes that actually helps you to be who you are today. Because without those champions to put you in that place, you wouldn't have that privilege in the first place to say, oh, it's just a bonus to me, But Cloud, what do you think, based on representation, whether it be in film, TV, comics, or our favorite thing is, everything behind us?
So I actually, as I was coming up, I was under the impression that I was not white. My mother told me that my father and his grandfather were from Portugal. So I had this kind of like ethnic sense. And I mean, to look at me, you could tell, the dark hair, the dark eyes, the olive skin. So I always had this kind of sense of, the main characters didn't look exactly like me, but like, my friends, a lot of my friends were white, my friends were black. And so I was a little all over the place. So it wasn't until I actually didn't even realize that I was just Eastern European, Western European until I was in my late 30s. So I grew up not seeing this and wanting that. And then even kind of being pushed into that, oh, well, you're part of the majority. It's like, well, I still don't feel that much. I don't feel that way. And then on top of that, realizing very late in life that I was transgender, it just brings up a whole other series of issues as far as like representation goes. I know that has not necessarily do anything to do with my ethnicity, but it's still something you don't see a lot of. And I actively go out and I look for, which comic book characters are transgender, which comic book characters are gay, and there's plenty of them, but you have to kind of dig for them for the most part. If it's not Iceman, if it's not characters like that, you have to search. And I've been looking, and it's nice to know that they're out there. To these gay and bisexual and pansexual and transgender characters exist, but I had no idea because there's no spotlight on them. So in the sense of like needing that kind of representation, from starting as a kid thinking, why do these characters not look like me? I've got dark hair and dark eyes, and everybody's blonde hair and blue eyes, to being an adult and seeing like, how come there are no trans characters in the X-Men universe? I feel like it falls on the same line that it is incredibly important that it's great that they're being included. It's great that we're starting to put spotlights on these characters. Black Panther got his own movie. Awesome. Fantastic. It's such a great film. I am so happy for all of my black friends that got this moment. It's epic. But I still feel like it's so slow going. It's a little bit here and there. It's like, okay, well, we'll give you this and we'll give you that. And oh, you like, the Falcon works well, so maybe we'll kind of dip our toe into the Captain America thing. And it's progress. Progress is progress. But I feel like we have a long way to go before it's something that's so commonplace that it's just like, go, because I had friends that would go and like skip out on G.I. Joes because they were black, would skip out on G.I. Joes because they were Asian. Like, why? Like, these Quick Kick's a cool character and Roadblock's a cool character. Like, why does this matter to you so much? And it's because, especially growing up in the South, that's another environment entirely.
Yeah.
But it's,
Yeah.
but I mean, you had people like me who grew up in everything. And like, I knew the Indian kid, I knew the black kid, and I knew the Chinese kid. And then there were just all the white kids hung out and all the black kids hung out. There's no intermingling. And I find that really sad because, as was stated earlier, Brandon, what you were saying about you could go down the road and see all of the different like ethnic restaurants and shops. We've got that here on Long Island. It's everywhere. And I think it's beautiful. And I love learning about new cultures. I love learning new languages, different people's styles, the way they speak, everything is it's fascinating to me. And the fact that people don't want to learn that is sad. And it's coupled with the lack of representation because they're not exposed to it, because everybody grows up in their little bubble and that's all they have. And we're working on breaking out of that, and it's great, but I still feel like there's not enough has been done.
Yeah. Just real quickly, I think things will change for the better the further on we go, because not only do you have, of course, you have the people that are of different races and different gender and transgender and all that collecting the stuff, but also behind the scenes producing the stuff. I mean, those people, have gone on, graduated college, and are entering the workforce, and they have the same mindset of all of us. So I think it's going to change for the better.
I agree. I agree. It's on its way.
Just real quick, we're just going to get through these last two. I want to read just one comment and last two super chats, and then we're going to move on to since we're kind of running close on time, get to one last question here. First of all, Magneto was right, says, as a trans girl, I don't even comment on social media. So freaking toxic sometimes. Look, don't worry about them fools. You comment all you want. Don't let them stop you. You comment anytime. You're more than welcome here. As Dan said, welcome here. You are more than welcome here. You want to talk to us, you feel free to reach out to any of us. We are here. And if somebody gives you trouble, you tell them the little black dude who's right here, who's pointing to himself, will come in those comments and say what he's got to say. This little black duck will come to your aid. Don't you worry.
But before you continue, I'm sorry. Magneto is right. You have to be loud, and it's something I've learned recently. I came out a year ago, and I started my transition a year before that, and there's a lot of apprehension because you assume people don't want to listen to you. People are going to lash out at you. And yes, it's going to happen. It's going to happen no matter who you are or what you're doing. But as I've slowly been breaking out of that, and like Dan will tell you, I reached out to him on the side, and I'm like, hey, since we're Facebook friends, I need you to know this about me. He's like, I don't care. I don't care. And that's been the reaction of everybody. And you're going to find the majority of people will just accept you. Mm-hmm. So don't hide. Be loud. Be obnoxious about it. Be proud of who you are.
There you go. Jamie, I'm sorry if I pronounced your last name.
Gitchard. Jamie Gitchard.
The super chat. One quote that truly sticks with me is representation is a requirement, not a request. And if you don't see representation, you don't see their story. Very true. Very, very true. Next super chat is from California Red Devil. Thank you very much. There's a new type of gatekeeping emerging, though, that representation is forced and motives for inclusion are always questioned by some. That is very true. Like, it feels like most people feel like the gatekeeping, like those gatekeepers that feel like it's being forced down their throat. Nothing's being forced down your throat. If you don't want to watch it, fine. Don't want to watch it. Yeah, just go do something else. Go read your 1940 comics and and be good with it. I mean, they probably still got what you want, 1940s. I'd be facetious when I'm saying that, but really, like, look, gatekeeping is a problem in anything something that people love, no matter if it's collecting, movies, TV, the entertainment industry. I should just say in the general aspect, and even at conventions that we go to. Like, it's just there's somebody always there saying, "Hey, that's not right," and you got 20,000 more people saying, "Hey, why don't you just go ahead and shut up and leave them alone and step on about your business." Eric Alfredo Bo, thank you for the super chat. Says Grand Admiral Thrawn loves culture. I don't know nothing about
it. I don't know what it means by that.
I don't know. Look,
Star Wars. Brandon, help.
It's blue, right? He's got blue skin. Is it something about that?
Right.
Probably.
Yeah. Obi-Wan Brandon. Can you help us?
Is blue. Yeah, and I think what Eric means is that Grand Admiral Thrawn has like a treasure trove kind of case of all different things that he's kind of collected as well. I think that's probably what he's referring to.
Yeah.
But yeah, he is also blue.
And just real quick, like, and the worst gatekeeping was Mr. Jones is here, and he showed me, and he can attest to this. People giving him flack about the storm that he drew. Like, oh, she didn't have a mohawk.
Really?
Like, really?
Oh yeah.
Do you not like watch like they?
She
not
never
read
had that
past?
hairstyle.
Right? Like,
Really?
like, okay. And you're X-Men fan? Okay, yeah. Why don't you go ahead and step off? Just go ahead and step off. Get back on your little horse. Right back to the little shanty town you came from. Because I don't know what you're even talking about. All right, so we'll go ahead and move on to our last question real quick.
Dante, one thing I was just thinking was, some of the earlier questions, it would be good to just like quick fire around with Dan and Cloud while we've got them, because I think they would have some interesting perspectives, even if we just quick fire it.
Yeah, no problem.
I ain't in a rush to disappear, by the way. I apologize for coming late. I'm here for as long as you need me, all right?
Yeah, there's no problem. Let's see. All right, we can do the quick fires real quick. So some of the questions we had real quick is why do you collect? So Cloud and Dan.
Nostalgia. Here it comes.
Nostalgia. Yeah, no, because I'm a lunatic. I don't like money. I like just getting rid of it as soon as I've got it. I'm like, I don't need this money. I'll spend it. Now, I don't know. Yeah, nostalgia. Brandon's spot on. Like, I try and tell Amanda all the time. She does not get it. She tolerates me, but she does not understand it. Like, I love to be surrounded with things that just make me smile, like little plastic representations of the stuff that I just have happy memories of. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to buy anything of something I have bad memories about. Why would you want to do that? That's ridiculous. So, like, all the things I have are things that I look at and remember good times, or just make me smile, or have memories attached. And like, a lot of that just happens to be from my childhood, because we're in a more carefree world back then, ain't you? You're not worrying about paying the mortgage and going to work and doing a 9 to 5 and staying in the decking like my missus are making me do today. Do you know, like, as a kid, you're just watching cartoons, eating cereal on a Saturday morning, and playing with your toys. You know, like so. And I also just, I don't know, like I love the thrill of the hunt. Like I love trying to track down a figure and then doing the research and learning who else is in that team and who else do I need. And now I'm learning more about that team, and I'm diving on eBay and I'm hunting trying to find the best price, and I'm holding out for the best price and just waiting for that figure to be revealed. To, do you know, like just the thrill of the hunt and just the whole, like, just think this is all before the community aspect even came on board. Like the community aspect is definitely something right now that I've been enjoying more than ever in the last couple of years on YouTube. But even before that, we were still buying little plastic people. So yeah, I just love exploring. I'm like, it's like I didn't read every comic when I was a kid. Of course I didn't. Do you know? But I watched the cartoons. That was my gateway into the toys. So like, as an adult now, I can go back and all this stuff is accessible because of the World Wide Web, which wasn't around when I was a kid. You know, it was just whatever was on TV at that particular time. Or I was recording stuff on a VHS tape to watch back over and over again. So I love Turtles to this day, because Turtles was my Netflix back in the day, because I just had like 8 VHS Turtles that I just watch over and over and over again. So yeah, just as Brandon said, nostalgia, anything that I love, I want it to be represented in plastic. And I love the collecting. I love the thrill of the hunt. And yeah, this, as I said, like I could be going out buying expensive clothes, doing drugs, spending money on drugs. I'm going on extravagant holidays. Well, my missus has just booked a trip to Hawaii, and I was like, nah, I'd rather buy the next Marvel Legends Hasbro. You know what I mean? Like that's just me. But that's just me.
Is she going by herself?
No, she's going with a friend, but like
that's exactly what I said, Alex.
Yeah. No, obviously she's going with a friend. But my point is, it's like everyone's different. Like, and I never try and push my thoughts and feelings onto anybody else. But I also understand that not everyone's going to get. As I said, this is why this community is really special, because we all understand each other. Like, we all get it. Like, and we don't have to explain it to each other. We just get it. Like, I look at Alex's Hot Toys and go, that man's got some deep pockets, but he's got Alex. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like we don't have to explain it to each other because we all get it.
And it's so funny because I look at your shelf, Dan. I'm like, he has so many toys.
Right. When you look at Dan and Brandon's shelves, you're like, man, like, can I just come over? Because I want to play with them, but I also want to kind of knock them down, just like make a mess and just leave a little bit.
I do that all the time myself anyway, just reviewing toys all day.
I know, because every time you post a video, you be like, well, took them all down. Gotta put them all back up.
I do think it's like collectors are quite neat and tidy, you know, like my house. If you walk around my house, it's a tidy, nice, clean, tidy house. Because I do think that's a collector's trait, because we want everything neat and tidy and organized. And like, as I said, so some collector's traits have got to benefit other things in life. But yeah, as I said, this is just how I choose to spend my money, and it's how I enjoy myself. And as I said, we're in a golden age. As I said, that sort of helps, doesn't it? Like, because we were taking scraps back in the day, like we'd take whatever we could get. But now we're like lapping it up. We're like, and we've got to take it now because we don't know how long it's going to last for. So like, even if Legends was stopped getting released tomorrow, then I know I have this epic splay for this forever. Do you know what I mean? And like, and everybody on this call and everyone in the chat could all have the exact same figures, right? Exact same collection, but every single one of us would display them differently, would pose them differently, would have them on different setups. And that's what makes it so special, is that there's no right, there's no wrong, there's no rules. Everyone creates their own rules and then breaks them anyway. Do you know, like, it's just fun. Like, and if you don't get it, then that's just sad. I feel bad for you. Do you know what I mean? If you want to be that macho guy who's like, no, I'm not buying toys, go and do some accounting or something. Do you know what I mean? Go away. Do you know what I mean? Boring. Yeah, go to the gym. Do you know what I mean? Like, go to the gym. Do you know what I mean? Like we again. This is I love it. I love it. And again, especially this last couple of years with the live streams and the YouTube and all of that, it's definitely made me realize that I'm not alone. And like, because everyone has that thoughts at first, don't they? Like, am I weird for liking this? None of my mates like toys. This is a bit weird. But then you just embrace it and you're like, no, this is what I love, and it doesn't matter that no one else does. Exactly. This is what I love. So we're in a safe place.
Do you really need friends when you got us? No, we're family. Okay, at this point, we're family. I'm going to use the F word.
We're in the next Fast and Furious film. It's like Vin Diesel. Cool,
the toy community. It's the Fast and Furious toy community. How fast can you get that figure?
But the Hell Charger is coming, like, so we've all got a vehicle for that. So, but yeah, sorry, Cloud. I talk way too much.
Yeah, Cloud, yourself, buddy.
I I happened to wander into a store when I was a kid, and I saw this guy.
Oh, that thing. Woo.
Yes.
And I just thought it looked cool. I'm like, oh, that dude's kind of cool. So I picked it up, and he came with this card.
Yeah.
And it had the little bio, and I'm like, oh, this guy sounds pretty cool. Went to a comic shop, and I picked up, I think it was Wolverine number 51. First comic book I ever read. And I was just like, this is amazing, and I need more. And it was downhill from there. And it was Wolverine, and it was Ghost Rider, and it was the X-Men. And I think I particularly clicked with him because he was like the outsider. He was the little one. He kind of like kept to himself. And I've always, and it makes sense to me now, but I've always felt different. Mm-hmm. So it was nice to have these characters, especially the mutants. And they are the representation of minorities and gay and trans people. And like, it was, you don't realize this as a kid. You're just like, oh, these guys are cool. Mm-hmm. But it kind of like stuck with me. And then the figure collecting kind of went. And I think from a psychological standpoint, I'm going to try to keep this quick. I moved around a lot as a kid. So I lost a lot of friends. I lost a lot of homes. So this was a constant. It's an issue with loss and abandonment. Mm-hmm. So when you can take this representation of this thing that you like and say, this is mine, and I can hold it and keep it and it'll never leave me. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of that has to do with myself and probably a lot of people out there who never thought about it this way. It's a security that this thing that you love, that you care about so much, will stay with you. And you can turn and they're right there whenever you need them to be. And that, I think, is not the only, obviously, but a very big driving point for nostalgia. So when we say, oh, nostalgia gets me collecting, there's a lot to it. You know, you may not realize, wow, I had a really shitty childhood and this was my escape. Or I had a very good childhood and it sucks to be an adult, so this is my escape. There's a lot of reasons behind the scenes that we kind of get into this. But it was really just that one figure that I picked up just on a whim. It gave me something that it just sat with me my entire life to this day, and I want to have them with me at all times. Mm-hmm. So you make characters I like, I will put them on the shelf. And I really need to get lights back here because you guys can't see how big this is.
It's definitely a generational thing as well, where we want to, like you said, you want to hold it like physical media. Like I'm still the type where if I like a film, I want to own it on DVD or Blu-ray because I want to hold it.
Yeah, I don't like the digital version.
The digital version to me doesn't exist. Like I
don't want the digital PS5. I want the console.
And I do think that's a certain age. I do think the next generation coming up may not have that same attachment like we do. Because they're just going to have a hard drive with everything they want on, and they're going to look at us like, what's on here? But I'll be like, well, it's not the same. Like, so I do think that's a generational thing as well.
Yeah, I think that speaks to also partly the decline in like toy sales and how kids just, I mean, like you said, like they prefer to be on their iPads more nowadays than they do to be hunting the toy aisles. So I think that speaks a little bit to it also.
Exactly. We got super chats here. Thank you very much, Alexander. Is that Flates or Flats?
Flates.
I do apologize if I'm saying your name wrong. Look, I don't say a lot of people's names right, and I do apologize. So if I butcher your name up, you can come at me in the comments and be like, look, you messed up my name, you jerk. Thank you for super chat. I'm glad I came over to watch the stream. It's been an excellent convo. I'll have to catch the replay as well. Thank you very much. You know, it was something that's needed to be had, and I'm glad Brandon had brought it up, and I'm glad we could actually get everybody, here talking about it, because if this goes well, I mean, we'll be doing more of these. Like we try to do these at least once a month and just have a good time, just talking about stuff as collectors, like in our collecting community that we need to talk about. Doesn't get much of like a bright light on it, and that needs to be talked about. Honestly, we have another super chat here from Northern Nomad. Thank you for the super chat. Says, damn, my roommate is like that, and he's my ex, and we're both gay.
Maybe I should be concerned. Here's my ex. Amanda's stuck on my face. She's not leaving.
My ex she gave me hell every time I bought something, and now my current wife, and I married this one. I'm just like, oh, this new thing's come out. And she goes, okay. Oh, there's another HasLab this year? Okay.
Amanda tolerates it for sure. She doesn't get it, as I said, but she leaves me alone. She doesn't ever stop me from buying anything. She definitely scratches her head at some of the prices and thinks I'm a weirdo, but But as I said, I like spending my money on things, all right? Like I know that's quite materialistic, but it's like Cloud said, it's there forever. That's mine now. I can hold it. It exists. Where she likes memories and taking photos and stuff like that, which is all well and good. There's nothing wrong with that. I like that as well. But like again, this is what I love more.
But what you did, you like. I like holding this memory. It brings me fun.
Yeah, look how happy this makes me.
We got another super chat real quick. Let's see. Here we go. Rush McGowan, thank you for the super chat. Talking about representation, it feels the nerd culture is finally cool. Looking at all the celebrity and D&D gatherings, yes.
Yeah, it took a while. I think with like the rise of the popularity in conventions, comic book conventions in particular, and cosplaying, and I think it's like cool now to have like a graphic novel sitting on your coffee table. I mean, so I agree with that statement.
Look, if you used to have comic knowledge, you used to be shy and hide it and think you're a geek or a nerd. Yeah. Now those guys are legends, living legends. Like, do you know about comics? Teach me. Do you know what I mean?
Like, exactly. The movies also help too. The popularity.
Yeah, they're cool. It's more accepted now, isn't it? Like the word, I don't like the word geeks and nerds because they've got such a negative intonation about them. Where like, it just it's not. It is normal. The new normal. Yeah.
Just real quick, I was just gonna go back. So when I get a new toy, my wife's like, "Ooh, what'd you get?" Dang it, woman! Can I not enjoy my toy first? But no, it's cool because I'm like, all right, this is who it is. She's like, "Ooh, this looks nice." So I'll show you this one. This Spider-Man. I love this Spider-Man. She's like, "Why's he got a big head?"
I knew she was gonna say. I knew you were about to say that.
Yeah. Because it's the way it's made. Oh, well, he still got a big head.
Like, she's not wrong, is she? Though, let's be honest.
Look, you know what, Dan? Thanks, Dan. Thanks.
Just saying, she's stating facts there. You got a big head, but
damn, that's it.
Look, as long as I'm not spending her money, she leaves me to it, so it's all good. Yeah. The bills are paid first, of course. We're adults here. Bills are paid first.
I make the money, so I'm allowed to spend it.
There you go.
I have money to take care of our bills and her. That's fine, and I talk way too much, and she puts up with me just rambling about, they revealed this, and this thing's coming out, and I put this pre-order in, and she's just like, I will get her whatever she wants, because she puts up with my shit.
All right, gentlemen.
We got one last big question, huh? It's like...
Well, yeah, we could do one last question. We'll do one last question.
Oh, I thought we only had one left on the docket.
No, we got a couple. Yeah, we missed over a couple. There's a couple that we missed. But we'll do one last one. So this is the big one. Do you have an endpoint in collecting, and how long do you plan on collecting? Start with Cloud.
That is a big question.
Yeah, no. I have a horrible problem with collecting anything. Instruments, tattoos, CDs, vinyls, action figures. I clearly am I'm an unhinged individual, but I feel like it'll eventually get to a point where, depending where I am in my life financially, if I can't afford it, then I'm not going to. But right now, it's still within my means. They're still making products I like. I'm going to continue. The only certainty I know in my life is that one day I'm going to die. My cats will eat my corpse. Until then, I'm going to continue enjoying my little plastic superheroes.
Yeah.
No end in sight.
Brandon?
Me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Me?
Yes.
It's a good question.
You're the youngest here, Brandon, as well. So you've been collecting the least
time.
Yeah,
that's the thing, and that's the thing. I think an interesting point is I think we each go through different stages of our lives, you know. So, for example, if things go according to plan in the next couple of years, I mean, I'm still living at home. I'm not going to be living at home forever, you know. You know, if Mrs. Hero still likes me and as time goes on, then that will progress in its own way, you know. And I think, you know, the spare room that I'm afforded in my family home might not exactly be the same space that, you know, my wife accounts for me in our family home. You know, to begin with, at least. My point being, I think that I think for me, it's not that there's an end point, because that, as much as Mrs. Hero does, support all of this, sometimes she does ask that question, like, does it ever end? Like, not in a horrible way, but she'll just out of curiosity say, does it ever end? And I think sometimes, like I say to Dan and Rich all the time, if anything ever happened to me, if I'm on a plane and it drops out the sky, like, you guys got this, right? Like, to sell all of this for as much money as you can get, and then have a big party with it afterwards. And knowing that they're probably, my Guardians of the Galaxy.
We take what we want first, of course.
I know that Dan would take that one away somehow.
Right, Dan would be over there before any of us. He'd be like, "Yeah, let me go ahead." Brandon told me I can have all this.
I was the one with the bazooka aimed at the plane.
Yeah, exactly. But that I think is my answer to the question, is that as life progresses and changes, I think the way in which I do what I do will evolve and change. Like right now, I spend a Saturday or Sunday and I'll shoot 7 photos for the week. There'll come a time when I've got, like, I got to take kids to soccer practice on a Saturday, I got to do the grocery shopping, I got to do this and so on and so forth, where all of a sudden I can't shoot 7 pictures on a Saturday to post for the rest of the week. So I think for me, as long as I know what my priorities are and I'm conscious of what stage I'm at, I don't ever see it ever ending, because that's my fun, right? My dad is coming up on 70 and he still golfs 3-4 times a week. Long may that continue. Maybe Dan and I will be 70 still going, pow! Welcome back to the channel, it's Dan Who Reviews. You never know. You never know.
No, you got pow. Right, you got to. Old folks home will zoom each other. Right.
Blows back out.
I just shit myself.
It's an interesting question for Brendan, considering he's quite a bit younger than I think most, if not all of us.
Yeah.
I mean, I just hit 40 this year, so my life is where it's going to be. I'm married. I've got a house. I've got a car. I've got my pets, and I don't really see it changing from here. So it's easier for me to say, no, I'm good. This is just me. Whereas somebody who hasn't gotten there yet can see so much ahead of them. And maybe it's that I don't have grandiose, like, goals for myself. Like, I just want to be happy and content. But I liked his perspective, because it's when I was, what are you, like 24, 25?
26 in a month, yeah.
So okay, so I remember when I was 26, I was making horrible mistakes with my ex in our own apartment. May have actually been our second apartment at that point. My point is, you've got it well put together compared to where I was at your age, but you've got some time yet.
And that's what I think is a really interesting part of it. Sorry, just one last thing is that, like, sometimes, like, when you're that age, like, it's something I keep mentioning to a lot of family and that are older than me in my life at the moment, is like, I keep talking about, like, I keep looking up almost. I'm 25, I keep looking up to 30, looking up to 35, looking up to 40, because I've just about lived 2.5 decades. Like, I can't really speak to, like, Cloud's lived 4 decades. There's so much life experience there that I can't even begin to conceptualize, because I've only barely just done half of it and a bit and change, So it's really interesting to think, like, in the next 5 years, my life is going to change drastically. I might not just have Mrs. Hero, I might have junior heroes. So, it's weird to think how that will evolve. But I think the golden age, like Dan always says, that we're living in, the MCU is not slowing down, therefore I don't think Legends are slowing down. Disney is not slowing down, Star Wars won't slow down. So I think so long as the entertainment continues, I think our fandom and therefore our community will continue with it.
I do think we're in a lucky spot as well. Like, as I said, I'm in my mid-30s, and I do think a lot of people my age now, and now those guys that are in charge in decision-making, boardrooms, these are the guys, and they like the same stuff I do. So, like, that's why we're in that sort of sweet spot of nostalgia, because the people that like the same stuff I do are now the people in charge making the stuff. So like, that's why I call it the golden age, because it will start to fizzle away. Like there will be a point, but I think just as a collecting in general, like we all have this habit where we're so focused on completing this one team or this one setup or buying this one figure, and you save for it or wait for it and whatever. And when it arrives, you sit there, you go, that was great. What's next? Do you know what I mean? You just don't stop. You don't ever go, well, that's what's Thanos say at the end of Endgame, like, oh, my job is done, or I can rest, or something like that. Like, we don't do that. That's not what we do. We're like, okay, well, what's next? What's our next little mission? And it's those little games that we enjoy about collecting. As I said, it's about the thrill of the hunt. But for me right now, it's also a creative output. Like, I say this all the time, but I used to put a lot of my time in music, and I wasn't collecting at all because all my time was invested in doing other stuff. And like when that sort of fizzled away, I still had all this creative energy I wanted to use, and obviously I discovered YouTube and managed to merge these two hobbies, two passions, into what I've got now. Which again, I was still really small in the grand scheme of YouTube, but it's my outlet. Like as I said, like I was late to this stream because I was sitting talking about toys with a bunch of other people on my channel. Because as I keep saying, with this community aspect that we've got right now is definitely something that enables us to go a little bit further, or maybe get that thing that we thought we didn't need, but everyone else has got it and it does look good and they're having a great time. So I want to be part of that. And it's like, it's just that we're just in that sort of sweet pocket. So for me, I definitely think I'm at that perfect age where, as I said, NECA Turtle, I wanted these cartoon turtle figures to look like the cartoon when I was a kid. They didn't exist, but they do now. So of course I'm going to buy them all up now. And there you go. Usagi looks great. Oh, that's what I wanted as a kid. But instead I played with the Playmates version that sort of looked like Usagi, but you squint your eyes and pretend it does. Like I only had one punk frog, but there was 4 on screen, and I was like, hey, do I need to buy 4? It was always, as a kid, you're just always a little bit annoyed. You couldn't have exactly what you wanted. But now we can have exactly how we want it. And it's the same with the MCU or the NECA stuff. We can have these, especially because technology keeps evolving as well. And these figures now, like I've got this Tom Holland figure. This is Tom Holland. Someone has shrunk Tom Holland and he's in my house. Honestly, it's crazy how good these figures have got. So like it's just that perfect blend of nostalgia and technology and everything all coming together to make this perfect mash of collectibles. And I don't see myself slowing down. I know my missus can probably hear me now. She's probably face palming. But I don't see myself slowing down while we're living in this age. Because everything's getting better, not worse, if that makes sense. Do you know what I mean? Like don't get me wrong, things are getting more expensive, but still.
One thing I was going to just say off the back of that, Dan, how many Bucky caps are behind us that in 10 years' time are going to have been replaced by Vulcan?
I said this exact same thing. I said, just think, at some point, there was a guy out there with a display like this, but they were all Toy Biz figures. Do you know what I mean? Sorry, mate. So they do not hold up anymore. So there's going to be a point, if the Legends keep going, we're going to have to rebuy every Wolverine, but now he's pinless with better articulation, better paint apps. And
real skin, real blood.
It keeps evolving. Just Hugh Jackman just sitting in my corner of the house. Do you know what I mean? Like,
hey, you stabbed this Wolverine? Look at him. Yeah. He's bleeding real blood. Oh my God. But he heals right back up.
Yes, right up.
It just keeps evolving.
Sorry, just quickly at the San Diego Legends panel, Jesse Falcon said, some toy lines are lucky if they see 3 years or 4 years or 5 years of life. This is 20 years down the line, and think about how quickly those 20 years have just gone. Like I remember I have some Toy Biz figures still from that I had when I was a kid. That I would have been like 5 at the time, and another 20 years will blink like that, and we could still be talking about it in 20 years time. So it's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, I agree.
I'll say this. It all depends if there's a junior, like Brandon says. Then that gives me more reason to go like, hey, Junior, you want to go to the Target? Some figures.
I thought you were going to say that if you have kids, you would cut back. But you're saying that if you have kids,
that gives me more reason to go buy more toys.
Way. Okay.
Yes, that gives me more reason. Like, hey, you want to go with Dad to go buy some toys? We're going to go to Target. You wife be like, hey, can I come? Nah. We good. We got this. We got this. Why are you coming back with like 4 bags? I sent you for like one thing, and you got 4 bags in your hand. Well, they had kid seen something down the Twitter.
Yeah, blame it on the kid.
Who am I to deny the child what they want?
Yeah.
But I think, honestly, I think more for me, if I ever did stop, it will probably be close to like if I ever became a grandparent. Like if I got that old, like at that point, it's just like, you know what? It's about time to retire from the game.
I have that opposite thought, Dante. Like when I look forward to retirement because that's when I'm going to clear out my garage and build myself this 112 Dio city and just spend the rest of my retirement just building this. Do you know what I mean? Like,
no,
there's those old people that build train tracks and shit like that.
Exactly.
In retirement.
It's true. This is like the new retirement
Dan.
Amanda's probably listening.
Call him for Dan. She'll open the garage door, and Dan will have just killed over with an Iron Man.
That's how I want to go out. That's how I want to go out. I wouldn't have it any other way.
To your point, Dan, even though I may have stopped collecting, the garage is now the 3D printing center. I've got all the 3D printers. I'm helping out the new collectors out.
There you go.
Hey, we're missing this. Hey, I got you. Don't worry. Let me go ahead and design that up. And then that's when you find me in the garage, dead old from the fumes from the resin that's all been printed. I was like, oh, he died at the computer just like he always wanted to. Well, and then hopefully the kids got to be smart enough to be like, well, Dad always wanted to keep these figures just in case. And they'll keep it in the family, but then they'll probably, the kids are probably like, yo, let's go ahead and sell all this stuff. We can try at least make a little bit of money. They already done put out 16,000 Wolverines. I mean, we could probably sell these on the market for maybe about like $28 a piece and get something for them.
That worries me, you know. Like Brandon said, like he always says, like you and Rich have to look after my collection because I'm the same. If I drop dead tomorrow and got hit by a bus, Amanda would be so desperate to get rid of this shit, she'd give it all away. She has no idea at the value of some of this. Do you know, like. Because don't get me wrong, a lot of the most of my legends I bought at retail. Like I'm because I'm timely, I'm buying them as they come out. But a lot of things go up in price. Yes, some things go down in price, but it sort of evens out. Do you know what I mean? So there's value here, and I try and remind Amanda that like, look, this is an investment. Like you can go Hawaii and get some nice pictures, but you're not going to be able to sell any of those pictures for any money to anybody because no one's going to give a shit. Do you know what I mean? They're memories that mean something to you. Right. These mean something to many other people. I'm sitting on a nest egg. Like I've got I've got a Sentinel that I've not even took out a box yet. Do you know what I mean? That's a. Don't get me wrong. I want 2 Sentinels for my display, but that's also a nice rainy day. Crack open for emergency Sentinel. Do you know? Like so. Yeah. Again, this is an investment for some, and people forget that. Like yes, they're toys. We're buying toys, but. These are investments. I don't know how to do Bitcoin. I don't know how to work the stock market, but I know toys. All right.
Some of the chat are hilarious. Sorry, just quickly. Dante comes in shortly after.
Hopefully, if I don't kill over right after Dan, I'm like, oh shoot, they both died. But see, Dan, that's the nice thing about it because I have a backup plan. I told my buddy, I was like, look. If I die, I told him, you're the one to call to come in and start hustling the figures. So just in case I do go before I have any kids, you take what you want and you sell the rest off and get the money to the family. That's it.
No.
That's the backup plan.
That's why I'm friends with Brandon. He's 10 years younger than me, so I'm planning ahead for this. He's going to live longer than me, so I'm in safe hands.
Rich said, sorry for your loss, Amanda. For your information, Dan left me his Dark Phoenix 2
Be crying at the funeral, be like, yeah. So what you doing with that Iron Man in Captain America?
Amanda said to me the other day, like, you can't get buried with all this stuff. And I went, yeah, I can.
Yeah, I can.
Like Mr. Burns with a tomb. Right. Like, I'll be in the middle of this tomb and the display will just be around me as I'm in a
exactly. Melt it all down and put me in it. That's my casket right there. You melt it all down into a casket. It'll work. Trust me.
They'll bury Dan like the
logo
of old, like this.
Cassie knows. My wife knows to sell this stuff. I mean, I'm sure I could get something for an autographed Wolverine figure at some point.
It's so funny. As much as we're laughing, that's such a morbid thought, isn't it?
It is. But yo, I'm still trying to go out Wakanda forever. Be like, yo.
16 shooter in the chat says you got to balance those things with some experiences and memories, Dan. And Amanda does always make that point. And she says you can't just stay in the house all the time, blah blah blah. Because this is like you build your happy space, don't you? Like that's what you call home, right? Because you build somewhere that you feel comfortable and enjoy. Like I'm not miserable at home. Just because I don't go out doesn't mean I'm not miserable. Yeah. I went out in my early 20s. I DJ'd in nightclubs every weekend. Like I've had my be out, be an idiot time. This is my chill out. I'm happy at home with my dog time. Do you know, like, so like I don't need like, and don't get me wrong, I will enjoy a holiday every now and then, but I'm not one of these guys that has to be doing it every other week just to take some Instagram photos. Do you know what I mean? I don't give a shit. Do you know what I mean? Like, as long as I'm happy at home and I've built this little set, because as Brandon said, he's still at that stage where he doesn't know what his next step is yet, and it's where this is my forever home. Me and Amanda bought a house a couple of years ago, really nice house that we can expand in if we ever want to. She doesn't want kids though, that's why we brought a dog. But like, if that ever did happen, the house is big enough. Do you know, like, so I can start building and start going, okay, I want to convert the attic and make more room. So I can plan a little bit more than like Brandon can, because I've got more of a concrete plan. As long as you stay in work, obviously, and the money's coming in. Like Cloud said, the most important thing, I don't need to be a rich man by any means. I don't need to be rich. Being rich would be great, don't get me wrong, but I don't need to be rich. As long as my bills are paid and I'm happy and I can still treat myself every now and then, I'm all good.
Sorry, real quick. So you're telling me I can retire to Dan Who home? Thank you. I'm sorry, Brent. I'm just retiring to. So that's the house I'm retiring to, is the Dan Who house. That's what I'm retiring. Since he's got enough room to spread out, I'm retiring there and I'm bringing the collection.
I did say you're welcome.
Wealth is of the heart and mind, not the pocket.
Thank you.
That is true.
Also, this room's tiny, right? I can touch both walls with my hands. Amanda's got a bigger room with 2 rails of clothes, right? That's complaining. Just saying.
It is funny. I was just at Mrs. Heroes and like she says sometimes, so if we were to get a house, would like how much space, like she's negotiating, right? How much space is it that you think you would be taking up? Yeah, and I go over there, bro. Like there's a closet, there's a railing, there's like drawers, there's all of it overflowing with clothes, and I'm like, there's only 7 days in a week. When are you gonna wear all this stuff?
You know what it is? They gotta have something for every occasion. Look, if that's gonna be the issue, all right, cool. I got every figure for every occasion. Anniversary figure. Hey, I got 20th anniversary cap. Here we go. We gonna celebrate. All of us gonna celebrate together.
Look, I wear the same black t-shirt every day. Girls change outfit every single day. That's on them. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't same black t-shirt, same jeans. I'm like a cartoon character. You open my cupboard and it's just the same outfit over and over and over again. Honestly,
that was me. Go ahead, Brandon.
No, you go, Claude. Sorry, you go.
So as somebody who is discovering their feminine edge, I suffer from both of these things: a packed closet, shoes, bags, tops, skirts, and things like that, and the figures. So
yeah, good luck.
The worst of both.
Yeah.
Sorry, real quick, we got a super chat from Rush. We're all in trouble now.
Oh god.
Rush with the super chat says, "My wife is watching the chat and wants the social media contacts so everyone's watching. So
I can make that happen.
Her whole group.
I can make that happen."
Sure, yeah, you know, she already knows what you get.
No, you know what would happen then? It would be like, wait, Dan,
team up on us. Don't make it.
It would be like Dan told me Hasbro sent this to him, and then it'd be like, and then it would be like, wait, Brandon told me he got that half off last week.
Exactly.
That's been out for months.
Yeah. By the way, if Amanda asks, everything was free from Hasbro. Review. If Amanda asks, like, just in case. But like Brandon said, like you said, you have to negotiate like how much space you want in the house. When we were looking for houses, I lived on my own for 10 years, so I was used to my own space and stuff like that. And my like rules for Amanda, I was like, I've got to have a drive so I can park my car. I don't want to have any street wars like on the street. I want to be able to have my own parking space, and I want my own collection room. You can have anything else. You can do whatever. The rest of the house is basically pink. Out of this room, everything's pink. Pink cushions, pink walls, everything. I don't care because I've got this room and I've got to park my car. Do you know what I mean? So I'm happy. But yeah, you've got to negotiate, Brandon. 100%.
You do. So this is what you do in negotiate, because I already had this conversation with my wife. I said, if we move again, the basement's mine. It's off limits to everybody. Okay, unless I'm down there, then everybody come down. But when I'm not down there, nobody goes down there and touches anything, because I don't want to hear about, honey. So don't get mad with the kid. No. Who was down there when I was no supervision? Who was down there with no supervision? Okay, so you get the basement. You make sure it's a big basement, because then You have all that room. You can play like, oh, look at this. Ha, ha, ha. I can come down here and chill. And then everybody's going to want to come down there and chill with you when it's time. So the wife's going to come down and be like, hey, baby, how you doing? And then here come the kid. Hey, Dad. Why everybody down here when I'm down here?
How did she find the
down here
stream?
when I'm down here?
Hi. Quick.
How did she find the stream? You got a new subscriber.
Okay,
oh, what's going on here?
This has been fun. I'll see you guys later.
breaking up.
Oh, look, she's like, so rushed wife to DM me. Oh, no.
Oh, shit.
No. Oh, my goodness.
So I think for me, I think everyone's gone already answering the last question.
Yes, bring us home, Alex.
I think for me, I've actually been thinking about this because I'm like a list person. So if I'm collecting a line of figures, I'll make a list of the figures that I want and then, check them off. And I pretty much finished my G.I. Joe 3 3/4 collection. And I was just thinking, I was like, well, am I done with G.I. Joe after this? I'm like, yeah, I'm done with G.I. Joe. So I feel like I do have an endpoint. My endpoint is when my list is pretty much checked off, and I'm pretty good about not creating another list. For the most part, I have pretty good restraint when it comes to that. So I think my endpoint, I don't know when it is, but I do have one. And when I get there, I think I'm going to be like Dan, where like I just want to sit back in my golden years and just kind of enjoy everything that I've collected, and that's it, man. And then I die. I'll be happy.
There you go. Just real quick, super chat we have from Stryden. Thank you, Stryden, for super chat. I love the conversation we're all having, and I hope my comment didn't mean I'm against representation of any kind. I'm all in, no disrespect.
No,
Right?
I don't think
No, we didn't. You know, you
No,
didn't mean like that,
We got
Stryden.
it.
No,
We got it.
yeah, you're all right with us, Stryden. Don't you worry, Stryden. You're cool, boss. You cool. You cool. Cool. Dan should know that one. You cool. I'm cool. I'm cool.
Just quickly, I want to read this out because I'm dying inside at this comment. Mr. John said, "That's me right now. Recently relocated my man cave to the den, and now the wife and kids are always in here." He
That's
says,
how
"This
it always
supposed to
is.
be my happy space. Why are y'all in here?"
Yes, that's how it always is. I'm telling you. Look, a friend of mine I play Warzone with. Every time, here come the kids. Hey, Dad, what's going on? I'm like, oh, why you upstairs with your mom?
Yeah.
Like, now, and I can see it now. If I move and then I'm in the basement, here come everybody. Hey, Dad, what's going on? Oh, okay, why don't you upstairs with your mom? And then here come Mom behind him, like,
Hi.
Cheeky
Cheeky
Monkey Joe is around now as well.
Is that her, Brandon?
No. That's Jay's Toy Collection UK's missus. Listen, if my missus was in here, I would have already hung up.
Wow, she's like, I heard there was a support group for partners. Yeah, I mean, you can always start a Zoom chat with that, and see how it goes.
I'd subscribe. I'd want to listen. I'd want to know what
Exactly.
they think.
Yeah,
I'm in. Someone should start that. Cheeky Monkey Kiara, you need to get on that. Like, you can start that group.
And then you be standing in the background with eating your food while the Zoom chat's going on. Like, what y'all talking about? Nah, I ain't stopping no time soon. A beat the sandwich too. Like,
we'd stop talking.
No.
Yeah.
We'd get on here and be like, "You go first." No, you go first.
Yeah. Oh, look, Russia. My wife wants the Instagram contact so she can reach out.
And that Rush, Mrs. Hero, yeah, she deactivated Instagram actually.
Oh wow.
Yeah, she's on a social media detox. Yeah, does that sound convincing?
Oh, damn, you're in trouble. I heard my name a lot.
I told you, she's next door. She can hear everything. She can't hear you. She can just hear me shouting at my computer. So she's like getting bits of the content. So she's had to go and look for. She's had to look for the shared. I shared the post on Instagram. So I bet she was flicking through, going, "Where is he? Where is he now?" And she's found.
Amanda says, "So what on earth is he on about?" Amanda, he was saying you're his favorite action figure of all.
Exactly.
That's right.
Love is his life. You're the best figure that Hasbro's made to this date.
Better action features too.
Right, and there's no mold. There's no more mold. The mold's gone.
Didn't have to
They threw out the mold. It's done.
One of one.
Yes. You're the best. around. No one's ever gonna bring you down. All right,
Cool.
folks, we're gonna
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
fun.
but thank you all for joining us. Had a good time. It was a great conversation. Loved everybody's comments. I wish I could have got to everybody's comments. I really do. I appreciate it. I wasn't trying to miss your comments if you did have a question, and I do apologize.
Some epic super chats in there as well, people.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Yes.
Thank you.
I love each and every one of y'all who joined and hung out with us to have a good time, have a good conversation, and just, come together as a community. And like we said, it's the golden age of toys. Like right now, we are in that high golden age of toys. It's a spectacular time. It's the best of what we've seen so far, and yet it's more to come.
Yeah.
Like it feels like it's not slowing down. It's just going to be more and more.
As long as we're having fun. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So as soon as it ever feels like work or I'm not having fun anymore, then of course you just start taking a step back. But as long as it's fun, I'm all in.
There you go. So I'd like to thank everybody here: Brandon, Cloud, Dan, Alex, Disavowed. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining me. Thank you for coming and hang with me and the Infinity Equation crew to talk about that discussion. We might, like I said, if this one went well, we'll do this again. But it'd be different topics, but we'll definitely do it again. No, Greg, we did not talk about fear of missing out, but that's something we can always talk about later on in the next one. So definitely, we can do this again, gentlemen.
That's a big one.
Yeah,
I'm down. Yeah.
good.
This is great.
Yeah.
All right.
Amazing. Dante, thank you for having us.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Dan, Alex, Tim, Cloud, thank you for being here.
Sorry,
To
I was
the
late.
chat,
Thanks everyone for showing up.
Yes, thank you, everyone.
Much fun.
you legends in your liquor, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, folks. Let's see. Am I forgetting anything before we get out of here?
Like, comment, and subscribe.
Thank you.
Hit the bell down there.
And High Evolutionary says, good night, everybody. Have a great week at work.